Hello, romance lovers. Today's story is called Please Give Me the Pacifier. If you enjoy our videos, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on more exciting stories. Polite approach and friendly attitude. Gentle, charming voice, instantly crush. Charant asked, as the Baroness thinks, who is guilty in this situation? The baby's pacifier fell off. She started screaming. Charant asked if she needed a pacifier. He picked it up. The main character was looking forward to getting her pacifier right now. The little girl knew she would go crazy without her pacifier. Deschard inserted the pacifier into Gella. The girl noticed that he had already touched the pacifier, but still pretended to be disgusted by the touch. Gella noticed Deschard's gaze on her and didn't understand why he was looking at her like that, as if he was seeing a child with a pacifier for the first time. And why he was looking at her like that was also strange. The main character remembered that she was in Charante's arms. The Baroness said that she didn't quite understand what they meant. It became somehow cold. Charant asked Baroness Sullivan if she could explain what it was, pointing to the chain that was attached to the pacifier. Sullivan said it was for educational purposes. This surprised Charante greatly, and he asked with a smile which ones. Judging by his reaction, it was not he who made her mock her like that. And anyway, she thought that it was he who bought her a pacifier. Sullivan said the child was misbehaving and very disruptive, so she tried to discipline her before it was too late. This was not so, and that is why Gella was very tense about the Baroness's words. Gella wanted to be released immediately because she wanted to finish off the nanny right now. The baby was dangling in her arms because everything was not as she wanted. Gella couldn't live even a day without a pacifier and can't say a word, and she can't kill the nanny. Charant asked the baby if she was crying. The baby answered mentally that she was and assumed that he liked it. Gella was very angry about everything, and she was furious. The man put the baby down on the floor. Gella didn't understand why he put her down on the floor so gently and didn't understand what he was thinking about. Gella needed to let out her anger somewhere. The little girl thought that she needed to kill this woman somehow. So Gella decided to curse her so that she would suffer all her life. The nanny took a swing at the girl and called her a vile creature. Charant said that if the Baroness moved an inch, she would never again find the name Sullivan in the Book of Aristocrats. These words surprised the Baroness very much. The thought that she had gone against the main character left her speechless. The man named Charante and the entire clown family should know as the Green Emperor. Sullivan turned to Deschard and informed him that the proposal was closer to him and the young master, but the man told her that there were things she should not poke her nose into. Gella couldn't believe what was happening. She didn't know what was going to happen, but she already liked it. The baby started hitting the nanny's legs with the pacifier, but suddenly remembered that she still had to put it in. The main character's stomach suddenly felt sick. She didn't know what to do if the pacifier got really dirty. The Baroness didn't understand what kind of dirty and low positions they were putting her and the entire Sullivan family in. Charent said it was up to him to decide what was dirty. Baroness Sullivan just had to not ask him to bark and crawl. Now she has a real predator standing in front of her. and Cicely Sullivan feels like a victim. Charant approached the Baroness and said that he hates two-faced and stupid people. So she must listen carefully and remember. The man ordered her to return to her estate, close her mouth, eyes, and lock the door. It wouldn't hurt. From today onwards, the clown family must not attract unnecessary attention, no matter what the method. And the Baroness must do everything in her power to maintain the family's reputation. The woman asked how long this would go on, and the guy said it would be until the clown blood was gone from this earth. The woman knew he was definitely asking her to spend her entire life in prison. If it were any other aristocratic family, she might turn a blind eye to their words, but with the clowns, it's different. The clown family is closely related to the royal family. Rumor has it that they are so powerful that even the king bows before them. And the clown family has never been known for being kind. People who cross the clowns disappear without a trace. An order hidden behind advice. The Baroness's family will never be left alone. Sullivan said that from today on, she would stay at home because of her weak body. Charant asked the servants to escort the lady. The little girl noticed that he was very cruel. Gella understood that she should act like a normal child and pretend that she was tired and that what happened did not affect her too much. But these were different things, and revenge is revenge. The main character has already let off steam, and now she is looking for revenge. The aristocratic family that dared to touch her must pay the corresponding. First, Gella needs materials to cast the curse. Straw, holly, 12 rose thorns, and her hair. The little girl hoped that she would find the hair in her room. Suddenly, Dechar shouted what the little girl was doing, but she didn't understand what had happened this time. And the man indignantly asked why she was so stupid. Gella has a weak body, and it is not surprising that she constantly gets hurt when she crawls. It has been like that since she was born. The main character has long— The girl was already tired of sitting on her hands and she really wanted to go down. But Dechar told her to sit still so as not to fall. It was like a new kind of torture, and Gella felt sick from Dechar. Dechar asked her to calm down and noted that she understood him perfectly. The little girl did not understand why her silence meant that she understood him. The man noted that even animals instinctively sense danger, not to mention people. The main character decided that this meant that she was dumber than an animal, but he said that she was very cute. Gella realized that he was most likely telling her not to repeat the mistakes of others. Dechar said that she was also stupid, and he won't even introduce a nanny with such methods to her. He swore by the name of Desher Clown. Gella was surprised why his voice was so tired and where the stern old man had disappeared to. To be honest, the baby was tired herself, because she had been nervous all day because of that lady. The baby began to fall asleep, and the man became very interested in what that child had done. Dechar called Kant and ordered him to look among the maids for one who had experience in caring for children and introduced her to the little girl. Dechar noticed that Charant said nothing. Charant noted that there was no point in making a scene and that things should take their course. Dechar himself confirmed this and understood that this meant that he had no objections. The doctor examined the baby. Dechar asked Reno how the child was. Reno Passian, the clown's family doctor. The doctor could not utter a word, so Dechar ordered him to speak frankly. Reno decided to start by telling her that the young lady was developing more slowly than her peers and had been noticeably malnourished. However, she was surprisingly healthy despite her ordeal. The doctor noted that it is almost impossible for such a small child to find food on her own. It can only be called a miracle by God, otherwise the little girl can be called a genius. Reno was initially surprised that the child was left unattended for over 2 weeks. But what shocks him more is that 2 famous members of the clown family are standing here because of an illegitimate child. It was surprising because it is typical for the chief to expel both adults and children if they do not meet the standards. The baby is the daughter of the count's son, so the count's visit can— Even 20 years ago, when the doctor was still following the master, then Dr. Clown as an apprentice, the relationship between the count and Balian was not very good. Officially, Dechar Clowny has 3 children, the eldest daughter, Syria Clowny. The second child, the eldest son, Charant Clowney, and the youngest son, Balian Clowney. One thing could be said for sure about them. The children did not get along very well with each other, and from time to time, strange conflicts arose between them. Reno said the symptoms of exhaustion would go away if the child ate well, as would the injury she sustained while crawling on the stone floor. The baby has many abrasions and there are disgusting cracks in the bones. This surprised Deshar. Reno noted that every movement is painful for the baby. The doctor assured them that the baby should not crawl on the stone and that it would be better to lay a carpet. But he understood that the clown family would not lay a carpet for the child. Renault added that if such methods were difficult, it would be better to teach her to walk, and the faster the better. Deshar turned to Renault Patient and said that it was no longer his concern. Deshar ordered the doctor to visit the child regularly to monitor her growth and health. The doctor agreed and was prepared for numerous visits. Moonlit night. Today, the main character braids straw. She added rose thorns in hair. As a result, the little girl got a voodoo doll. It's a complicated hand job, so it looks scary compared to what she usually does. But it took a week. No one ever knows how much effort it takes to collect material. And all because the maid lives with the baby. And so she doesn't have time to sneak out during the day. So in the middle of the night, the main character quietly got out of bed and quickly returned. Because there was no time or opportunity to return to the room every few hours and check whether she was awake, Gella couldn't even imagine how hard it would be to crawl, use magic, and resist drowsiness at the same time. And the baby can't sleep and seems to be going crazy. Even if Gella pretends to be proud of her achievements, the maid was scared that she wouldn't be able to crawl any further. Recently, the main character tied a thick cloth to her knees so that crawling became less painful. And the most important change is a new pacifier. It was a real golden pacifier. If Gella had known that there would be a new one, she would never have dragged the old and dirty one into her mouth again. In any case, now you don't have to worry about losing it because the maid made a chain for the pacifier that looks like a necklace. The doll was finished. She looks sloppy, but acceptable. So there should be no problem using black magic. Now all the baby needs is to drip her blood and add magical energy. And then set it on fire. There's already blood. Gella pricked herself with a thorn, and one drop is enough. The problem was that the little girl didn't understand how to push enough magical energy into the— Gella couldn't do anything and she started to fall asleep. In the morning, the baby woke up and the maid immediately picked her up. Gella screamed just like a real baby. It seems that since Gella is now really a child, she is starting to behave as expected. She thought that yesterday she did something important. Suddenly, the maid picked up the voodoo doll and asked the little girl where it came from. The main character was very scared and did not know how to react to this. The little girl was very angry because a whole week of her work was going to waste. The maid said that if the girl wanted, she would sew her a teddy bear that would be much cuter than this strange thing. The main character started to freak out on the floor. Gella knew she was being childish, but there was no other way. Because it had taken her a whole week, the maid gave the lady her doll and asked that the baby not cry. It was the main character's personal maid named Bera. Bera asked the little girl if she would allow herself to be picked up. This woman is very different from the rest of the servants in that she is kind and gentle. And Bera made the chain for the pacifier, too. She called Gella a good little lady, and her face was as understanding as the main character's when she saw the golden pacifier. Great minds think alike. The maid noticed that the lady was crying again and assumed it was because she had taken her doll. Every time Bera picked up Gella, she felt strange. In her past life, the main character never felt human warmth, which is probably why the touch of the maid's skin seems unusual to the girl. How can it be that she is treated like a child? Gella hates people, and nothing good will come of friendship with them. The main character knows, but this feeling does not cause her any inconvenience. The maid noticed that she had a very frightening face, and therefore she thought that the doll was very dear to her. Bera assumed that it was because Milady felt lonely. These words surprised Gella very much. Bera asked the little girl not to worry, because everyone around knew that she was delightfully sweet. But the main character hoped that no one knew. The maid asked Milady if she wanted to go for a walk. It was a wonderful idea. After all, it's always nice to walk in the sun. Gella began to smile and noticed that the maid was smiling too, but she didn't understand why she was smiling so tenderly. Bera was happy to announce that it was time to take a walk. On the walk, the main character met Kishan. This boy really irritated her. Dechar was surprised why the little girl couldn't communicate. It was a very awkward situation, and Gella didn't understand why her communication skills were being assessed when she was sitting on the grass in an unknown place. This tea table. Less than 6 months ago, the main character ordered a tea table and a tea set. In her past life, she was waiting for them to be delivered. If she ever comes back, it will be interesting to know who got them. Dechar called the little girl to him. Gella did not understand where she could hide the doll. Dechar Clown had seen a lot in his life. If he saw Gella now, he would think she was crazy or trying to use black magic. But if it wasn't Charant, then who would it be? He has a sharp eye and it is difficult to understand what he is thinking. Dechar called Sharina and the little girl was thinking about where to hide the doll. Gella decided that she would lie in the bushes for now. Kishan caught the baby and asked her grandfather if her name was really Sharina. The grandfather confirmed that the baby's name was Sharina. The main character decided for herself that she should not have any dealings with this type of people. He would have passed by if the main character was reborn as Salopia. So don't get attached to him. Witches never courted knights like him. Like water and oil. It was like that in that life and here too. Kishan noticed that he and the little girl had similar eyebrows. The main character did not want him to call her by her name because she was easily suggestible. The boy asked his grandfather if Sharina was his little sister. The man simply remained silent. The little girl knew the answer. Kishan didn't understand what was wrong and why the little girl was getting so nervous. Gella was just thinking about when that thing would be thrown into the fire. Late at night, when darkness fell on the house, the main character ran into the garden. But because of the new soft lining on her knees, Gella can now not be afraid of abrasions. And Sharina now opens doors easily. She just needs to look at it sternly, and it will open itself. The little girl was even able to find a doll that she hid in the garden during the day. Now the main character needs to throw it into the fire. Suddenly, the little girl was met by Kishan and asked what Serena was doing here. Gella didn't understand what was wrong with him. The boy was very sleepy and stood in his pajamas. The main character began to hit him on the legs, but noticed that he seemed very sad, and she did not even remember the last time So Gella started stroking her brother's hair. Kishan looked like a puppy in the rain. The boy said he missed his mother, but Gella couldn't do anything about it. Kishan asked Serena if she missed her mother, but the main character did not miss her, because she is not interested in people whose faces she does not even remember. vague outlines that emerge in memory. Gella looked at her brother and noticed that he had calmed down, so she decided to crawl to burn the doll and she should try walking, because she needed a lot of practice. Standing on her feet for the first time, the main character was surprised at how hard it was to hold up even such a small body. It was much harder than she thought, but she did it. At her age, it would have been much stranger to continue crawling and not even try to stand up. Keeping her balance was still a challenge, but if Gella practices, it will become easier. Cation asked what the little girl was doing there in the middle of the night. The boy assumed that she was looking for something and asked what it was. Meanwhile, Gella was looking for the fireplace. The boy kept asking what she was doing here, and this surprised the main character very much because he had not yet gotten tired of asking. Gella decided that if she answered rudely, he would leave. The little girl said boo. The boy repeated it, and so she decided that he was teasing her. It was very humiliating for Gel to hear baby sounds from others. Keishan asked Serena if she was looking for a fire. The boy said that he knew where the fireplace was and took the little girl by the hands. This surprised Gella very much because he took her hand so easily. The brother told Sharina that it was dangerous here, but the main character considered him a fool, because even if it was dangerous here, she had a better chance of surviving than he did. The more the main character looks, the more differences she notices from Charante Clown. If you don't pay attention to his appearance, this small, shy child behaves as children should. It was completely unclear how he managed to grow up with such an upbringing from Charante. But however, if you remember Charante's sweet voice. One might assume that Charant is cold to strangers, but soft and gentle with his family. But Gella, that won't happen. Gella, while carefully screening people, was still betrayed even by those who shared her worldview. No matter how friendly Charant and Dechar clowns were. After all, they only behave like this for the sake of Charante Clown's son. Misunderstanding and false hope will destroy the main character. The boy pointed to the side. There was a fireplace made from a magic pipe. Gella thought that such a pipe was sought during the time of the owner of the magic tower, and then she wondered why they needed it. Gella wondered if it warmed the whole house, but the main character decided not to hesitate and threw the doll into the fire. She felt strange. But the little girl needs to go back to her room because Vera will be coming soon. Life under careful supervision, between an old man who has lost his magic heart and lives out his days alone in a closet, and the main character who is always under supervision and is unable to take a step to the side, but with healthy arms and legs. Keishan told the little girl that nothing should be thrown into the fireplace. The brother turned to the little girl and said that he was scared, so he invited her to sleep with him. The baby turned her head in different directions. The boy took his sister and hugged her and said that he would share the bed with her. After all, a few seconds ago he saw darkness and was very scared. The baby didn't want it, but the guy took her by force. Gella didn't understand why he was so strong. Keishan brought the baby to his place and said that this was his room. The main character thought it was unfair that the floor in her room was made of granite, but here they put a soft carpet. Moreover, the room is very spacious and the furniture is luxurious. Gella looked around and realized that her room was terribly empty compared to Keishan's room. This made her quite angry, but suddenly her brother called the little girl. The little girl admitted that if you look at her, her brother is even a little cute, and he will definitely grow up to be like Melanie. Gella still remembers this name. Keishan told Serena that it was time to sleep and said that her brother would sing her a lullaby. Gella thought he was very presumptuous, even though he was little. But in the end, Keyshawn was really handsome, because the Charente genes are a terrible force. Gella really wanted to go back to her room. The guy put his sister down and the baby was confused. It was a completely different level of comfort. It was a big difference from Gella's cheap and hard crib. Keyshawn told Serena his name. The main character did not understand what was funny and why he was giggling. The boy asked them to keep the fact that he called himself her brother a secret, because her father and grandfather would go crazy from this. Gella decided that she should take a break and run away a little later. The little girl thought that he was the only one here who was afraid. It was difficult for Gella to escape from such a strong child with this weak body, especially when he clung to her out of fear. Gella decided that she definitely didn't need warm blankets and his protection. Keyshawn said goodnight to Serena. This kid has a good sense of the situation and knows what to say. But the main character's name is Sharina, not Serena. The main character decided that she could slip away when he fell asleep. Gella's eyelids grew heavy. Charente asked the servant to repeat. The man said that Baron Sullivan had arrived, and he led him to the third guest room. In the clown family, the third guest room is used for those who don't fancy much, a place to sort out useless junk or humiliate it. Even the furniture and decor look terrible after such encounters, but the squalid appearance is enough to decorate the trash can. Charente suggested that the Sullivans had finally gone mad. Charente asked the reason for the visit. The servant said that most likely Baron Sullivan's wife had died the night before. This surprised the man very much, and he asked again. Because he didn't send anyone and didn't understand how it happened. The man reported that according to the information available, a burnt body was found in one of the rooms. Charente wondered if there was a fire there, but the servant said that there was none, and that this situation was alarming because there was not even smoke, so the Baron suspected the Duke. They had experienced Charente's wrath last week, so this suspicion was justified. It was a simple matter, but this time Charente did not want to interfere. For a man who visits his mansion not without certain motives, Charente does not want to waste energy. Charente was interested in who set fire to the Baron's husband if it was not a fire. The knight said that as far as he knew, there were no signs of arson or fuel at the scene. Charente realized that it was black magic. The man asked if his master wanted to say that the death of the Baron's wife was the work of a shaman. Charente said that most likely the cause was a curse from the realm of black magic. Charente believed that among the dirty little people who developed magic and became shamans, only idiots used black magic. Baron Sullivan's wife. She loved training dogs, so she also enjoyed raising children who didn't want to listen to anyone. The nobles turned to her when they were looking for a tutor or a nanny. This woman often taught illegitimate children. Of course, there were rumors that such training was kept secret. Between the Baron's wife and the lady who had children, it seems she did something wrong and was punished. If the cause of death is indeed black magic, then the one who cast the curse will receive a payback. But by the way, this is not Charente's business. The man thought that there would be no need to personally check how things were going with the Baron, but he himself came to him. Vera looked for Lady Sharina everywhere and did not understand where the baby was. The woman could not imagine where the lady had gone. Suddenly, Charant came up from behind and asked Vera what had happened. The woman greeted the Duke. She apologized and said that the lady was not in her room, so Vera was walking around the estate looking for her. The maid recalled that the Duke said that he would not tolerate seeing the child crawling where he shouldn't again. Vera said that she would find her soon, so she asked him not to be angry. Charant asked if the girl had been to the Oriental Garden. The woman confirmed this and apologized because she had been told not to go there, but the lady often goes there. But Vera only looked around and immediately left without touching anything. Charant asked if she meant that there was no baby there. The maid confirmed it. The woman was very surprised that he would not punish her for having been in that garden. Suddenly, Deschard came up and asked Charant what he was doing so early in the morning. Charant bowed to his father and reported that the villainess's daughter seemed to have disappeared. Deschard was furious and did not understand where this noisy creature could have gone. Deschard shouted at the maid and asked where she was at that time. If Charente Clown is like a calm lake, Deschard Clown is like a forest fire. With his hot temper, outbursts of anger did not seem to be anything special, and he dedicated his life to serving the Emperor. But his character can be considered a strong point. Because he didn't like to talk about people behind their backs, except when he was very angry. Charanta told his father that news had reached him that Baron Sullivan's wife had died the night before. Dachor admitted that he had no information yet. The Simmel Knights are under the command of Duke Clown. Only those who have worked for the Duke's family for many years and earned his trust can join their ranks. And there are very few of them. Charant said he wasn't sure, but it seemed like someone had a grudge against her and used black magic to kill her. Baron Sullivan recently visited Charant because of the death of his wife. Charant said that he would quickly find the child, especially since her father wanted information about her life. Deschard noted that they had a lot of work now. Charant told Raoul that although she was smart, she was still a small child, so she couldn't go far. Therefore, the man must quickly find her and immediately report to his father. The man understood his order. Charant turned to Vera. He asked if she was closing the doors. Vera said that she was closing, and as far as she remembered, they had always been closed. Charant did not think that she was lying. The Duke had ordered her for now that she would take care of his father, and that she would report all news to him first. Charant bowed to his father and said that he was leaving. Vera felt like a rabbit. And yet the maid still did not understand where the lady had gone. She-devil. Judging by the sound, the girl was slapped, but she didn't understand why her head was buzzing so much. The feeling was that someone had penetrated her mind. The body was as heavy as cotton soaked in water, and her eyes wouldn't open, as if her eyelids had been glued shut. Someone could be heard talking about some kind of punishment. Punishment for attempting the lives of others using her monstrous powers. It was a familiar voice from the past. The woman was telling the master that thanks to them, she got the place that he could not. He founded a country for wizards who were despised and treated like monsters everywhere. Her death will not change anything, but she will die painfully. The voice screamed that his biggest mistake was getting involved with someone like her. A life where anyone could trample a girl into the dirt. A miserable existence for the amusement of the crowd for the sake of living. If she can't just fight for her life, she will become a devil. Someone was calling her. The main character opened her eyes because she heard someone screaming. The vision before her, beautiful and young. It was Keishan's face. The baby still bit the pacifier and couldn't stop doing it. He called the baby Sleepyhead. Keishan said that now she needed to eat. The boy assumed that she did not understand and began to show her how they would eat. The boy asked Serena if she knew what a wet nurse was. The main character suddenly felt black magic. And it looks like the curse worked. It seems that the Baron's wife died after all. The soul was drawn to Gella and the magic absorbed it. The main character really missed that special feeling. Soon the cocoon will grow and become a magical heart that stores magic. The baby's body was very heavy and she felt like she had a fever. Gella has only a small body without horns. She absorbed a soul full of resentment, so she had a corresponding return. Gella was wondering how high her temperature was. The heroine's hand simply couldn't reach her forehead. Gella put her hand to her cheeks. She was lucky that they were cold. She felt like she was touching a hot ball. Gella won't get sick often as long as the magic is stable. Also, if you use the magic power incorrectly now, the baby will be at risk of a magical explosion. So she should sit quietly in bed for a while. It was very painful for Gella just to sit. It was already morning and she should probably go back to her room. The little girl was very curious whether Vera was looking for her. She hoped that the maid would come, since then it would be easier to hide her absence. That was to be expected. The fact that she could only rely on herself had not changed. It was time to go back. There was a carpet on the floor, so it wouldn't hurt to fall. It would be great to put the same in Gella's room. Keishan was delighted that Serena got out of bed herself. However, the difference in attitude towards loved and unloved children was expected. The main character didn't understand what she could expect from the clown family, and she also had to train more to make walking easier, walking much faster than crawling. Keishan suggested that his sister go and have breakfast with his brother and mother. Gella stood up angrily and said with all her appearance that she did not want this. The boy picked up the baby and they went. The main character didn't understand whether he had ever tried to listen to her. Before things got too bad, Gella needed to practice her speech. This is to clearly say no to such a pastime. But the main character could not pronounce two more letters. When Gella wants to pronounce them, she catches her breath. The little girl saw the double ceiling, but she felt very bad. Everything was swimming before Sharina's eyes. Someone called Keishan, and the main character became very curious about who was there. A dark spot was approaching. It was Charente, but the little girl saw him as just a black mountain. She began to approach, and she did not understand why the mountain was so close. Gella grabbed Charente by the hair. Everyone was in complete shock. The main character understood that something strange was happening. Gella's vision was double, and she saw two mountains. Gella was very curious why she felt like such an idiot. She felt the coolness again, like an ice pack. Charente said she had a fever. And the voice that said it was like evil, and very similar to Charente's voice. The Duke took his hand away and the baby became very hot again. Hella was angry because Charente had even stolen the ice pack. It wasn't fair. Gella knows he's a bad guy, and he has a lot of money. Why he'd steal her ice pack then was unclear. Suddenly, the little girl heard Vera's voice. Ditchar asked her where she had been. The little girl was very surprised because the mountain was supposed to be black, but it turned gray. New Mountain Vera. Ditchar said that Sharina is a small thing that crawls everywhere. The little girl understood that it was not Vera who was reaching out to her, so she turned away. The main character didn't understand where Vera was and why everything around was so strange. The little girl was waving her arms to the sides, and Vera immediately wanted to run up. Vera picked up Sharina and told the lady that everything was fine now. The main character realized that these were Vera's hands. Finally, the baby could calmly close her eyes in this house. Because Vera didn't look like the type to kill her. Vera told the little girl that everything was fine now. Charant told Vera that he would send for a doctor so she should stay in the room. Vera was pregnant but lost the baby, and she assumed that because of this, although she was not connected to the baby and a drop of blood, she was so strongly attached. Charant noted to himself that Vera was a good choice. The Duke turned to Kisan. He took him in his arms and asked how he met the baby. Kishan said that he couldn't sleep last night, so he slipped out of the room. And the baby was crawling along the corridor. Kishan was surprised and asked where she was crawling. The boy indicated that they were going there. Charant asked if he had decided to bring her to his place. Kishan said that they were looking for a fire and came to the fireplace because it was cold. And because Kishan was afraid, he asked the baby to sleep with him. The boy said that she slept peacefully, and when she woke up, she became very hot and asked if the baby was ill. Charant said that his son's teacher would be coming soon and that he should prepare himself. Charant told his father to go and rest because he would take care of the remaining matters himself. Deschard noted that he thought the little girl had her own ideas about what was right and what was wrong. Charant told her father that he shouldn't worry. If Deschard didn't like Sharina avoiding him, then Charant would train her properly. Deschard agreed, but asked him not to do it. A piece of soul that will become the main character's magical power. Gella can't see it. The little girl felt something cold and didn't want it to go away. The baby didn't understand why she couldn't reach. She apologized for her mind being blank. Gella couldn't control her body, so she acted reflexively. The man said that she seemed to be in pain from such a high temperature. He touched her forehead and put a cloth on her head, which was nice and cold. A gentle and caring touch from his hands. The baby was reaching for the cold. The man said that he couldn't determine the cause of the fever, so she should at least get some sleep. The hand that stroked the baby's hair was soft, cool, and gentle. The cold hand did not throw off her clumsy hands, so Gella fell asleep peacefully. A few days later, the baby was very bored, and it seemed to her that she would soon die of boredom. She was sad, and there was no reason for it. Gella was already feeling better, but Vera was not letting up her control. The little girl didn't understand what else they needed. It was hard to even think about anything, because Vera was always there. and leaves only to eat. Vera sat next to the lady and wanted to read her a book. The magic has not stabilized yet, so if Gella uses it, the baby's body will. That's why the baby is locked in a crib. Gella's only belongings are what she's holding in her hands right now. And today, Gella is disappointed and only drinks milk. It was tasty and spicy. It's good for a snack. Vera gives Gella snacks every day and doesn't even look at her anymore when she gives Gella a bottle. Everything was so delicious that it didn't even get boring. Keishan came and was very happy to see Serena. The unwanted guest comes every day and brings a book and gives it to Gella. Today, that book was Yo, This is a Woman. The main character is already sick of the daily changing books. Keishan said that he took it from his dad's library. Gella understood that he was now trying to kill her in such a strange way. The little girl understood that she would most likely die because of Charant Clown. The boy was so excited that he even spoke differently. The boy showed the little girl pictures from the book. This book was familiar to Gella, and the little girl did not understand why her book was here. Introduction to Black Magic Curses. Gella already said that this book only has pictures, and it is about black magic and simple spells. The book contains many curses, so whoever starts reading it will lose all their energy. And it is very dangerous. Even after reading just a couple of chapters, there is a desire to become a sulfur magician. The little girl thought she had destroyed all the books and didn't understand where she came from. Judging by his smile, he has no idea which book he took. The boy said that the doll from the book was very similar to the one made by Sharina. The main character made it. Keishan said that this one was ugly, and the one made by his sister was much prettier. The main character was grateful, but did not understand why he was visiting her as if she were a prisoner. And then it dawned on her that he actually thought that a bunch of crookedly tied straw was more beautiful than her drawing. Keishan said that the book could be left with Sharina. Gella noted that she had not seen her book for a long time. She decided to read it when Vera was distracted. Brother said that Sharina was very cute, and Gella didn't like the fact that his face didn't even change when he touched her lovely cheeks. Keishan asked the little girl if she knew that there would be a party in the garden today. But the boy called it Chivirinka. Gella thought he was stupid because he spoke incorrectly. He couldn't even pronounce a word correctly, and he was already trying to teach someone. Keishan said that there are a lot of people at the party, a lot of delicious food, and you can make friends with someone. All the guests are good people invited by her father. The baby was very happy because she would have a great chance to crawl around. If the guests were the ones Charant had chosen, then they would probably be full of people from families with a long history or high status. If the main character gets stuck here, no one will even notice her. No big deal, because the parties are fun anyway. Gella's strength is enough to at least walk. And when her powers get stronger, Gella will be able to use the magic of tomorrow. Wait a little longer until Sharina can fully use her powers. And then, finally, Gella will be able to leave this house. Even if she leaves or dies, the clowns will not bat an eyelid. In the worst case, they will use her as a misfortune. And they'll say it was a kidnapping or an accident. They'll pretend to look for her, but they'll just let her go. And Gella will be able to take care of herself. The main character is satisfied with this development of events. Keishan added that he also heard that sorcerers will come to protect the magic item. Keishan said that his classes would start soon, but he would come. Gella thought about what he had said, that the sorcerers would come. Gella knew that they would meet again, but she did not think that so soon. And she was too weak to take revenge. Of course, no one would recognize Gella. She knew that Melan wouldn't show up yet, and she was only one rank below the main character could not believe that the tower owner personally came to check the magic item. Vera came. Today, she brought applesauce. The maid said that if the baby ate everything, she would treat her. The baby was very happy. Sweet apple puree will help Gella feel better to anyone. It was the best thing the main character had eaten as a child. It just melted in your mouth, so delicious. Gella considered Vera the best. The girl didn't know how to describe. It's neither good nor bad. It's just tasteless. You can't even bite it properly. And the main character wants to bite into a juicy piece of meat. But today there will be mashed potatoes. Gella was delighted. The apple puree was incredibly tasty. Vera asked the baby if she was full. Sometimes Vera leans her forehead against hers, and it is quite pleasant. The little girl was in seventh heaven. Vera asked if they should go for a walk. The main character was very happy. A little later, Dechar called Vera. Gella realized that it was Dechar who had called them for a walk. Vera could not be sure that the lady would be okay. Vera said that she was leaving them. The little girl did not understand why he was looking at her like that, so she assumed that Dechar was upset. The man stood up. But the baby rolled away. It seemed to him that she was afraid of being caught and said that Sharina was as nimble as always. When Gella realized that rolling was more convenient, then the little girl began to roll over, sensing danger. Dechar said that he had left something somewhere here. Gel was very interested in what he was looking for there. Dechar knelt down and addressed Sharina. The little girl couldn't even guess what he was hiding behind his back. The main character didn't want to believe that he was going to kill her now. Gella also assumed that he wanted to lock her in the room for the rest of her days. Gella did not want to believe that she could die again right now. Dechar asked her if she liked the toy. The man showed her a red hair. It was a plush toy. The little girl didn't think it was a cursed doll, but what is it then? Gella was familiar with blue stones as eyes, so the little girl assumed that it was a magic stone. The eyes of the toy were small, but the stones were definitely magic. Dechar said that the child was still a child and was interested in toys anyway. The man picked up the baby. The baby did not understand what was happening. The Duke said he had been so busy that he had not noticed how the little body had become healthier. Hella did not understand why he sounded so kind, because his tone did not match his face. And then Gella wondered what Dechar Clown was really like. And even more interesting was whether Dechar Clown was like that. The man who had yelled at her every day in the past. A man who is irritated by both enemies and allies. Hero of hundreds of victories. Dechar Clown. The man asked Sharina to press the rabbit. The toy made a sound, and it seemed very familiar to Gella. It was a rabbit bear. Dechar said that he had heard that children liked such toys. Gella thought that if they liked such monsters, then the children of the Empire had very specific tastes. Gella thought that if they were willing to waste the magic stones, then it would be better if they gave them to her. After all, the main character already has little magical energy, but this way she can fix it. Gella needs to absorb the power of the stones. Dechar noticed that the little girl notices that it is expensive. The man took a larger stone out of the box and asked her if she liked it. The stones were much larger than the eyes of the toy, and very clear. The little girl wanted all the stones to be given to her because she considered them hers. She wanted her magic stone and doll. Dechar said that even though the clown blood was mixed, Sharina should be able to find the most precious things. Of course, the magic stone was like a heart to Gella. And yet, the rich are different. A magic stone of this size is expensive, but it lies idle in a distant drawer. Dechar Clown became a little better in the eyes of the main character. Sometime later, Dechar called Sharina to him. The baby did not understand why he was calling her. Dechar said that if the baby came, he would give her another magic stone. Gella saw the stone and started to crawl towards it. But Dechar stopped her and said that she should just walk. Gella was very angry that he was asking too much. But if the main character can get the magic stone, then she is ready to play the role of an obedient puppy. Crawling is much more convenient than walking. Now, Dechar looks completely different. And you can't see that stone mask on his face when he shouts at everyone around him. Dechar watched Sharina walk and praised her. Gella assumed that it was a matter of pedigree and did not understand how mixed blood could be involved. So Dechar Clown carefully watched the little girl's uncertain steps, trying not to miss a single detail. The baby came up and Dechar took her in his arms and said that he would very much like to see her properly. There was genuine regret in his voice. However, if one parent is displeasing in some way, then the child will be displeasing too. So Gella decided to pretend that she had not heard anything. The man hugged the baby to himself. He called Gella by name many times, but he did not add Clown. Perhaps this is the only thing Dechar Clown can give Sharina. In this way, he marks the boundary. Although for someone who very clearly separates the personal and the accessible public, he behaves strangely. Gella decided to put everything in her pocket. So far, she hasn't. Dechar decided to add to the word that recently the little girl pronounced the name of that maid well. The main character immediately understood that he was talking about Vera. The baby couldn't really say anything with that language, and so she didn't understand how he heard the name of Faith from her. The baby still can't speak. The main character noticed that he was really strange today, and then Dechar asked if Sharina would call him grandfather. This surprised Gella very much, and she did not understand what he was saying. This old man had caused her too much suffering for such a nickname, and he also just watched and did nothing. This clown, Dechar, claimed that Gella was inexperienced. Each time the man spoiled the main character's mood with his grumbling. When Gella prepared a report for the meeting and made every effort to organize negotiations, he simply nodded. Of course, there were other problems besides this. The newly founded state was unstable, and measures had to be taken to be recognized. As everyone knows, mages are stronger than ordinary people. But one should not underestimate military power, warriors, and commoners. It does not matter how the young state manages them. Fortunately, magic items are only made in Salopia. Salopia bases its foreign policy on this. Magic is dangerous. To change this popular belief, Salopia used magic in her daily life, so that the state would not be harmed and considered harmless. Over time, they secretly increased their power, so that no one would dare to look down on Salopia. The main character thought it would be that easy. Talented mages, including Gella, were forced to learn offensive magic. But Gella mainly used dark magic with a particularly high degree of destruction. And only the head of the magic tower and a few other such powerful magicians as Melan, no one understood the danger and destructiveness of black magic as they did. That's why they got rid of the main character. Gella thought about how stupid she was. Dechar asked if it was still hard for the little girl to understand that. Gella didn't understand how so thick-skinned because he abandoned her, that is, the owner of this body. Besides, Dechar does nothing for her and now asks to call him grandfather. Dechar did not even remember the baby. The main character almost died, so she didn't understand what kind of family this was. She didn't understand how they could have enough audacity. Gella decided that they wouldn't be able to seduce her with some kind of The baby called Dechar grandpa and cuddled up to him. Gella did this because pride alone would not help her survive. The level of this crystal ranges from B+ to A-. The main character decided that even though she didn't have much mana yet, with this stone, Sharina would be able to provide herself with a good life in 4 years. It is enough to use crystals to become stronger. If Gella could use magic, problems such as eating and daily chores would be solved. Magic crystals are the best. Dechar called the little girl smart and noted that she was incredibly greedy. But from now on, she must call him Grandpa. Gella realized that if she had to call Dechar Grandpa for the sake of the crystal, whether the main character can wisely choose between the crystal and life. Dechard said that he knows that the little girl partly hates him and Charante. But Gella noticed that it wasn't partly. She hated them very, very much. After all, he couldn't even imagine how painful it was for her to choose between the crystal and calling him grandfather. The man had that expression again. It really pissed off the main character. And Sharina didn't want to see. Would it be different now? Although she is still treated badly and she has someone to protect. Not the main character, but Sharina. Dechar said that it doesn't matter, because the little girl doesn't. But Gella understood everything perfectly. Dechar said that the little girl could take the crystal for herself and noted that he would give her more if Sharina called him grandfather. The little girl called Dechar grandpa again because she decided that she would get a crystal for each time. Dechar said that everything was correct and noted that Sharina was a very materialistic girl. Dechar thought about Balian not being materialistic. It was said that when a person is happy, some misfortune will surely befall him. Vera held the baby in her arms and told Sharina that it was probably the first time she had seen so many people, and she noted that the Duke had allowed her to join the banquet. Gella didn't understand why they would invite someone who couldn't even participate in it. The little girl looked menacingly, and that's why Vera realized that her mistress was in a bad mood today. Vera asked Sharina if she should bring her some puree, but when she looked at her hands, the woman discovered that the baby had disappeared. Gel felt awkward. It was better for the main character to leave the banquet. The boy told the little girl to bring something. It was expected, but Gella did not understand how appearance and character could be so boring. These children were disgusting to the point of horror. The main character decided that there was no point in wasting her time on them. She decided to sneak into the Charant garden. The boy asked his brother what a bastard meant. He said it was a low person, someone who would be thrown out of their family. This was stressing the main character out, and she wanted the little thing to watch her language. The boy grabbed the little girl and called her a mudblood. The guy threw her on the floor. Gella was in a lot of pain. The dress that her favorite maid had chosen for her in the morning was all dirty. Although, in fact, the boy asked Sharina what she was staring at. She was annoying the kids. These kids were just monsters. And the main character didn't Gella decided that they just wanted to die, and that's why they were making a fuss. The baby had hurt herself when they threw her. She didn't know what she would tell Vera, but then the main character thought about why she had to come up with excuses at all. After all, they were the ones who were making fun of her. The children irritated Gella, and she thought about killing them all. In any case, Gella plans to grow up quickly and master black magic. These children have little energy, but judging by their character, it is probably powerful. And then the little girl thought about how she considered them her opponents. The boy menacingly asked the girl, calling her a bastard. In general, Gella can't just let them get away with their rudeness. If she had the crystal with her, the main character would have thrown them into the water. The little girl took a stone in her hands and threw it at one boy's forehead. She started to run away, and the boy ordered everyone to catch up with her. Gella understood that she would be finished if she was caught. Hella decided to run as fast as she could. The man said that it was an honor for the children to come here. The Duke was glad that they came here. Charant said that the words confused him, and in general, he is glad that they accepted his invitation. Although only 20 families were invited, they came almost in full force, so there are a lot of people. The Duke wondered where Kisan was. He saw the boy sitting on the floor. Charant came over and called his son. The man asked what Kisan was doing there. The boy timidly said that he was looking for the little girl. He knew that his father did not love Sharina. Charant asked if the boy was talking about the little girl he had slept with that night. The boy confirmed this and noted that his grandfather had said that Serena had come to the banquet. Charant asked in surprise if his father had said this. The boy confirmed this, but said that he could not find her. Cation sadly said that he had definitely seen Sharina with other children. Charant thought that it was a small snail. He did not know where the little one went, but she must have left traces. But it was hard to tell right away where Sharina had crawled. Traces, as if someone had crawled, and prints of children's feet. Charant didn't understand. Couldn't this child sit still? The children were looking for Sharina. One of them said that she was in that direction. Gella would have advised him to stop. The boy called the little girl a cockroach. Gella thought they were idiots. And she wasn't sure that they were Charant's guests. They were a group of children bullying one child, so they were the cockroaches. Gella had to take revenge on the one in the middle. But first, the main character needed to rest. Gella crawled in many places and managed to find a pond. It seemed to her that her body could not recover. Finally, the children caught the baby. The one in the middle said that he would not let Sharina escape. Gella knew what she had to say. The little girl took the crystal in her hands and tried to say something. They were doomed. Meanwhile, Charant tried to find where the children had gone. Charant didn't know why he was looking for her. The feeling of disappointment was growing stronger and stronger. The Duke did not like what was happening. Charant's garden had been destroyed at Hella's request, and she was Sharina reminded Charant of his brother, Balian. He had done a lot of bad things before he left the family. It was a great pity. Suddenly, Charant heard screams calling for help. He realized from the voice that they were children. When Charant approached, he could not believe his eyes. Children were flying in the air. They begged for mercy and said they were wrong. Charant saw a magic stone in the little girl's hands. He thought that a small child could not use such a thing. Charant couldn't believe what he saw and didn't understand where the little girl got the magic stone from. The boy said that he was wrong and it was his fault, crying. Charant could not let her continue. Otherwise, something irreparable would happen. Charant called Sharina. The little girl noticed that for the first time, the Duke called her by name. The main character blamed herself for not finishing it faster. Gella decided to just quickly deal with him. But the problem was that if their parents saw even a bruise, the main character was not very upset that Charant noticed her. because even if he wanted to kill the baby, Gella would be able to teleport with the help of the stone. The girl can't freely use complex spells yet, but she'll definitely succeed once. Charant took the stone. He said he didn't know where the little girl got it, but she shouldn't do anything that could harm the family. The girl really wanted Charant to let her go. Charant noticed that the little girl was very stubborn. The man ordered the main character that she should stop using the stone. Gella couldn't see anything, so she couldn't resist. The hand that Charant used to cover the girl's eyes was very warm. Gella was angry, but the warm touch was calm. Charant said that Sharina could use magic. She got caught. It was very bad that Gella got caught using magic. It was well known that the clowns, especially the Charante, could not stand mages. The clowns are a family of swordsmen. They believe that magic only brings harm. The baby wanted him to give up the pacifier. Charant asked if Sharina wanted to let the children go. The baby looked innocently at him and pretended. Gella decided that it was true that Charante was heartless and did not understand how one could look at a sweet and pretty little girl like that. But she still felt that it was her fault that she was caught. In any case, the lesser of two evils is chosen. Charant said that she was addicted to the pacifier. Gella did not understand what was wrong with her. The baby wanted him to. Without a pacifier, the baby was already dizzy. Charante gave the pacifier to Sharina. Gella thought that he did not want to touch her because he gave her two hands. Gella didn't want to believe that he didn't give her the pacifier, only because she first extended one hand to him instead of two. When the main character takes the pacifier into her mouth, her heart, which was beating like crazy, the nervous excitement that had built up over the day was fading. Gella decided that she should hold the pacifier in her mouth more often. When you have to play the role of a child, you actually become one. The baby let the children go, and Charente took the stone from her, so the main character decided that she would return to Vera. Sharina was very angry with the Duke. The way Charente took the stone was very rude. Gella did not understand where he took it, because Sharina had worked hard to get this stone, and now he was taking it. The stone's power was still half spent, so she thought the stone might be useless. His smile was frightening. Next time, Gella should try not to answer. The woman picked up her son and asked him not to cry because his mother was nearby. They asked to tell them what had happened. The children clung to their parents and whined. The kids bullied Sharina, and now she's a villain. After all, a child can cling to her parents like that. And the main character is an adult, so she can handle it herself. The little girl really wanted to see Vera. Cation came up from behind and asked the little girl if she was okay. Gella wanted to say that of course she was okay, because they were disheveled and beaten. Cation told the little girl that her dress was dirty. The little girl raised her hands up and Cation noticed scratches. The girl immediately hid her hands because she accidentally hurt herself. The main character remembered that she pretended to be very strong, and she hoped that no one saw her scratches. But Charant was standing behind her. Gella didn't understand why him. A woman ran up to the Duke and said that she had just heard something incredible. Charant asked again. The woman said that she heard this child using some dirty magic tricks to take the lives of her children. This made the main character angry. Charant asked if such a child could use magic. The man said that even the youngest sorcerer in history, named Salopia, was about 4 years old. And yet the woman says that this child used magic to make those children fall into the water. This woman was Baroness Dahlia. And there is no evidence that they fell into the water without any explanation. Charant said he is not sure and does not think the baby is that smart. These words of Charant angered the little girl. She understood that either he was on her side or he simply did not want to admit that the little girl was a genius. Gella did not think that she would be scolded. The Baroness was screaming, so Gella decided that since Charant had decided not to touch her, she should play her part well too. Sharina became. The woman said that it was definitely this girl, and Sharina was completely impersonating a child. Charant grinned, and Gella decided that she looked funny to him. Charant said that their opinions differed. It was only the Duke's hypothesis, but he said that those children were constantly pushing and hurting this girl. The man asked how much longer he had to turn a blind eye and allow such things to happen on his estate. Charant asked how the Baroness would explain herself now. Charant uses normal words, but the atmosphere is not normal at all. Such a scene. Anyway, what was needed, Gella did. Kayshawn did not understand where the baby went. The main character decided that she would leave the rest to him. They started it, and Gella had to answer. But the main character does not regret it. But then someone suddenly picked up the baby. It was Dachar. The main character did not understand why he picked her up. It was a big nuisance because the members of the and since Sharina is a disgrace to the family, she thinks that they can hit her and throw her in a back alley. Dechar started shouting that they need to watch their children's upbringing. The man couldn't understand how they could all treat this child like that. He held the little girl close and asked who dared to raise a hand against a member of the clown family. Dechar called Sharina a small and helpless baby. Gella was outraged that he called her small and helpless. Gella was certainly small, but she could not be considered helpless. The main character couldn't believe that the day had come when Dekar Clown was on her side, but that was only because he didn't know who the baby really was. At the meetings, Dekar Clown was angry too, but not to such an extent. The main character hated being considered weak. It should have affected her mood. Charant said that things had gone too far, so the party was over from now on. Their faces turned white, afraid that they had harmed the clown family. Gella decided she wouldn't be angry anymore. She supposed she'd probably get locked up for a few days for using magic, but at least she knew those two didn't want her dead yet. The main character couldn't even believe that they were defending an illegitimate child in front of other nobles. So everything ended well. That's what Gella thought. Vera was feeding Sharina. The main character knew that she would return to her room with Vera. Gella didn't understand why she was still in this estate with them. Charant turned to his father. It looked like a family meal, but it was different. Charant put a stone on the table and told his father that it was the baby's stone. Charant asked her father where she got it from. He also noted that Sharina really knew how to use it. It was magic. Gella was very angry because he did not even wait until the end of the meal. Charant turned to Vera. He asked the maid if she had ever seen the little girl use magic. Vera was surprised by such questions and said that she had never noticed anything like that. Del felt a little ashamed in front of Vera. Charant asked if she had never seen it. Vera confirmed it. The Duke noted that she was probably hiding it on purpose. Charant noticed that the little girl was quite smart. Gella decided that she would continue to pretend that she knew nothing, because her hut was on the edge. They ate and slept. The Duke turned to Keishan. Gella had already gotten used to the fact that the cold-blooded Charant behaved in a friendly manner with him, but what a family was unclear. Gella didn't understand whether something that was only a blood connection was considered a family. She didn't know what a person would do for his family. The main character was curious whether the main character was not destined to understand this. The Duke asked his son if he said that he saw the little girl throw something into the fireplace. Sharina did not want Keishan to say anything. Keishan happily said that it was a straw doll. The boy's attentiveness really irritated the main character, and she did not understand why he was like that. Gella was caught doing everything except using magic. But she didn't know how much this family of swordsmen hated magic. Charant told his father he would go out and go to the baby's room. Deshard didn't understand why he needed to go to the baby's room. Charant said he just needed to check something. The man asked Vera to show him where Sharina's room was. Deshard said that if it was a mage in the clown family, he would go too. Charant told Keishan to go to his room after finishing the meal. The boy understood him. It was very dangerous because the clowns hated magic, but they simply could not stand dark magic. Charant was very sensitive to it. So when Gella entered the negotiation room, because she reeked of black magic, he always frowned when she left. She knew that if he decided to find evidence of black magic, nothing would stop him. And the straw doll was easy to find. You just had to look a little. Vera said that the little girl suddenly became nervous and asked her what happened. She didn't understand why the little girl was shaking. Gella knew very well how people treated mages. In a world where they were called sorcerers and persecuted, young mages often became slaves. They came. Sharina decided to pretend that she didn't understand anything and pretend that she didn't know anything. Gella understood that sooner or later they would find out about. While there is still a chance to escape, Gella will find the crystals hidden under the rug and escape. Deshard asked Charant what he is looking for here. Charant saw a book in the crib. Gella knew she was finished. She took the crystals. 3 crystals were in place. The pacifier was also. The destination was the forest. Gella didn't know if she could handle 3 crystals and didn't know if she would survive or not. But it seemed like she wouldn't last in the clown mansion anyway. She didn't know how much magic she could use in this body. But Gella has no other choice. Charente turned sharply to the little girl. He looked menacingly and headed in her direction. Gella tried to move into the forest right now. All that was left was to absorb the mana. There was no other choice. She tried to squeeze out all the power, and the main character succeeded. She simply evaporated into thin air. Vera was very surprised and did not understand where the lady had disappeared to. Charant realized that this child knew how to escape. And this is the type of magic that requires training, even if there are mana stones. Deshard approached Charant and asked him, shouting, what he wanted to do to the child. Deshard said that he had not given him the right to harm the baby. Charant asked his father to calm down because he was trying to break the magic stone, because Sharina was going to use magic. And even he would not take the life of a defenseless child without any reason. And Deshard was only guessing, and so Charant asked if he really looked like he wanted to kill her. Deshard didn't think he really wanted to kill her, but it was still cruel. So the father said that, whatever the case, drawing the sword was too much, because Desher understands how much his son hates magic. Whatever the reason, Deschard would not allow the child to be harmed. Charant simply smiled. It was a shame that they didn't even know where the baby had gone. Charant said he would send people to look for her, and this man was a mouse who came and went as he pleased. The man said calling him a mouse was a bit cruel. Charant said that it suited him and that he had nothing to do with it. And he noted that the unexpected guest, who had stumbled into another man's mansion with dirty shoes. Melan said that it was because he sensed magic in the mansion. That's why he was there to prepare for the unexpected. He apologized for possibly annoying the clowns. Charant asked who the man was. Melan knew that the Duke was deliberately belittling him, who had come to resolve the situation. But he should not get involved with the Duke's family. Since the Emperor has given Duke Clown authority, his family now represents the Hyron Empire. To associate with the Clown family is to be at odds with the greatest empire, Hyron. The man said his name was Melan Silopia, and he was the new master of the Magic Tower. He had a surname that the masters of the Magic Tower could use, Silopia. That was Gella Silopia's last name. Since she left, Charant asked where the mistress was because he didn't understand why a newcomer would go himself. The man said that the previous owner of the Magic Tower was executed for an unacceptable crime. Charant asked with a smile. Melan said that she used forbidden black magic and she killed people for no reason. That's why they saw her as a big threat to Silopia. Deschard noted that they exploited her, and as soon as she became stronger, they all became afraid. Charant noted that it was understandable, because when people are in power and get even more, it only irritates. Charant said that the fact that Gella Silopia used black magic is not news to anyone. And Deschard started yelling that Griffin had recently flown in and they should have worked harder. Melan said that there had been an unpredictable error and he was already trying to control everything. And that, by the way, is one of the reasons for his visit. Dachar was shouting that everything that binds their nation together is falling apart. And only he stands there, pretending that no one could have predicted that the man guarding the relic would disappear. If she had been in her place, it would not have happened. It was as if Melan was an empty space, a void he could not help but think about. Melan began to feel this emptiness because of Gella's disappearance. Deschard said that if something like this happened again, he would report it to Silopia. But it wouldn't change anything. Melan said he'd remember the Duke's words. Gella was gone and he needed to sort things out. And so he asked if they could tell him if they had noticed magic before. Charant said he believed his niece was born with a magical gift that no one had ever thought of. And the little girl felt a threat, so she disappeared with the magic stones. Teleportation is a low-level magic, but after learning it, you need to practice for at least 2 to 3 years to use it. Melan had heard that Charant's son was still young, so he guessed that his niece must be about 7 years old. However, running away with the magic stones at that age was quite commendable. The man believed that his niece was born with excellent abilities. A child must be at least 13 to 14 years old to use such magic, even with accelerated practice. Deschard said it was not surprising for a member of the clown family. Melan didn't believe it because it was with them that the baby felt threatened. Melan said that he thought the child would not be difficult to find. She had not yet mastered magic completely. Therefore, she could not hide her abilities. Gella thought she would die, and her short life almost ended here. However, it would be a pity to die at such an age. How did the main character, the great Gella, come to this? It was very hard to say the words that she was okay. She was very sorry for her new language. The main character is alone again. Of course, she didn't expect anyone to be there when she left the Duke's house, but it's a pity that she doesn't have a warm sheet and good food. It was sad to think about how she would eat grass again, so she decided to become a beggar. It was nothing new to her. And the second time, everything was easier. However, a child should not be in such a situation. Gella thought she would escape at the age of 3 to 4 and could not believe that she was discovered so quickly. She lacks the free use of black magic to survive, and she would still need powerful black magic to survive in this huge forest. The little girl saw something familiar. Especially all the trees were very familiar. Gella thought there would be fruit trees in that direction. She crawled a bit, and there really were some. So the main character thought that she was born a fortune teller. Looking closely, the little girl saw a second pond in the mansion. The origins of magic, the flow of time, must follow the traces that cannot be erased. Melan said that his niece was not far away, and they would find her if they followed this thread of magic. Charant said that he would forgive him for breaking into his mansion, but only this once. But if they entered this house again without his permission, no matter what the reason, it would be the end of him. Charant put his sword to Melan's neck. Charant said that Melan would not leave the mansion unharmed if something like this happened again. And the man should remember that. Melan did not even notice Charant draw his sword. Charant hid the sword, and Melan said he would go first because something might happen. Charant turned to his father and asked where he was going. Detter said that he was going to look for the little girl, because they can't even imagine how scared she was when she escaped with the help of magic, and therefore they need to hurry to find her. Charant couldn't believe his assumption when he saw the crystal in Deschar's hands. He asked if Deschar had given his crystal to the little girl. Deschar said that she was a genius. Deschar jumped down. Kant approached the master. Charant ordered him to prepare everything while he followed his father. The servants accepted the order. The little girl noticed tracking magic. There are many types of tracking magic. It is used to find something or someone. Sometimes it is used by beginners who know little about magic. It's not difficult. But now the main character can't use it. But before, Gella could cast a spell with one finger movement, and then Gella assumed that they hired a magician. She didn't understand how that was possible, because the clown family doesn't trust magic at all. And then the little girl remembered what Kishan had said. The boy had said that he had heard that the mages had arrived to take care of their artifacts. It seemed like a lot of mages were supposed to arrive, and the clowns probably asked for their help. But it wasn't clear why they were looking for her so hard. If they pretended not to know each other, that would be fine. The girl couldn't believe that they wanted to kill her so badly. And she realized that Charente Clown was a very stubborn blockhead. And yet she didn't understand why she ended up in the clown's garden. The main character had to at least move beyond the mansion's territory. With Gella's terrible abilities, the hardest thing now was to remember the spells. Mages use magic by memorizing spells. It all depends on their abilities and what image they have built in their heads. When the main character was Gella, she mostly used magic silently, imagining. But this small, weak body is not capable of something so complex. Ideally, the main character should feel the magic and learn it from the very basics. The problem was that you have to go through this whole process. Suddenly, the trail disappeared. Gella tried to say something, but nothing came out, and she did not understand how she was supposed to learn spells with such pronunciation. Pronouncing the ancient language is difficult for anyone. Gella knew her head would explode from cramming, but she didn't expect the pronunciation to be so terrible. It felt like this body had no language. The little one is low on energy now because she used magic, but she needs to find a place to stay for the night. And then Melan found the little girl. He asked if she was the little niece of Duke Clown. The little girl was silent. That voice was very familiar. Melan said that she was younger than he thought. Long ago, he had bent his knee and sworn eternal loyalty and friendship to the main character. Gella despises him, curses him, Melena. She simply hated this man because of his betrayal. The baby has more silver eyes, and everything was right. It was not the same rough, cold voice she heard that time. It was another brave voice of Melan. Melan asked the little girl if she had used the magic stone she had in her hand to escape. Gella moved away in a flash. The man apologized and said he just wanted to make sure. He couldn't believe that the little girl actually used the stone to teleport. The main character did not answer anything, and so Melan said that she was very taciturn. He asked Sharina to at least say something because he did not understand what had happened. The same voice, the same expression, the eyebrows drawn together as if in embarrassment. Melan sat down next to the little girl and said that her uncle and grandfather would be coming soon. Until then, they had to be together. Gella was shocked that he was asking the child seriously. Gella was doomed, where if she opened her mouth, only stupid sounds would come out. The main character didn't want to show Melan this flawed side of her. The man said that he heard that Gella couldn't even think about using magic when she was little. And of course he did too. The main character didn't understand how he could smile like that and how he could casually pronounce the name of the one he abandoned. Melan also said that Gella said that she was the first person who managed to use magic at a young age, although she never told him how old she was when she showed her abilities. The main character noticed that he was talking as if he was talking about a friend who was still alive, but in fact, that was not the case. Melan blushed with a smile and thought that he had told the child too much. Melan noticed that Sharina was afraid, and he said that he had heard someone say that fear goes away when you talk to a person. This killed Gella because it was she who had told him. The man noted that it must be hard for her, since she was born with the talent of a sorceress and in the clown family. Melan assumed that this was the reason for her escape, but the little girl ran away because she almost died and regretted that she didn't think about being caught like that. Everything was as usual. Melan is in her way and doesn't help at all. Gella didn't understand why the hell she had to sit with him. It felt like he wanted to cast a spell on her right now, but since the little girl had no strength, she couldn't do anything. And the enemy was right next to her. It would be 100 times better to sit in Charant's arms than in Melan's, and the man said that he was strong and that there was something difficult about helping Gella. The main character wanted him to rid her of this topic. Whatever the reason, any regrets, Melan had no reason to. Suddenly, someone called the little girl. It was Deschar. Charant remarked that it was very good that the little girl had not gone very far. Gella was very— no one could have known that her adventures would end here, and yet Gella wanted to leave here. Using only the magic of the magic stone was too presumptuous. When the main character became a child, shed a sea of tears. Charanta came closer and began to wipe the little girl's palms because they were dirty. Dasher didn't understand why the baby was crying again. Charant said she wasn't crying. Dasher held out the crystal and told the baby that he would give it to her and she would stop crying. Gella has no more strength. The main character needs a pocket because she didn't know what to do with the stone if her grandfather gave them to her every day. The little girl was furious that she couldn't take it. Dachar said that if the baby stopped crying, he would give her 10 times more of these trinkets. If 10, then Gella thought his calculations were correct. The little girl reached out to Dashar, and he said that her grandfather was nearby. Charant did not understand what was happening. Gella did not understand whether it was a joke that Deshar Clown was in a good mood. Deshar picked up the baby and noticed that the baby was probably dirty. She had a talent for magic, and Deshar is glad that Sharina has it. Luckily, it looks like the main character won't be killed. Gella mentioned that Dechar could give her something to ease the sadness of not being able to take those 10 crystals. Besides, the little girl wanted to disappear right now. After all, Gella was next to Melan. The fact that she was breathing the same air as him was disgusting and unacceptable. Deschard told Charant that they were going back. The man agreed. If you think about it, the hierarchy between the two is defined. In general, Charant's abilities and reputation are enough. To defeat Deschard, this is enough. And after that, just take the place of the Duke. However, Charant respects Deschard. Charant thanked Melan for saving them from many troubles. Charant let Melan go to rest. The boy was happy to help find the baby. His tone remained as impudent. It reminded Gella of the moment when he said goodbye to her. Gella didn't understand why it was so hard for her to control herself when Melan was around. Melan said he wanted to know how old the baby was. Dechar reported that Sharina was about 1 year old. Melan was impressed. After all, having a talent for magic at such an age is very surprising. But he doesn't think the little girl will be able to wield it well in the future, because the amount of mana will increase. Especially because she is in the Heron Empire. Because they don't like mages. Melan said that if their family allowed it, he would like to take the baby under his wing. Then she would receive support from him and Salopia, and would become an outstanding mage. The boy said that the baby would be better off in Salopia. Besides, Melan knows that the clown family doesn't like mages. Dasher asked how a stranger dared discuss his family's affairs. Melan felt a strong tension. It seemed as if an invisible force was preventing him from breathing. If Charente Clown was a slowly approaching tsunami, then Deshar Clown was an avalanche that instantly devoured everything in its path. Gella knew that with such a man on her side, everything would be fine. People whom Gella considered enemies protect her, and the one whom the main character seemed to be able to trust became an enemy. It was funny, as if all this was planned by someone in advance. Melan said he was only speaking facts, and he thought they knew perfectly well how their empire treated mages. But if the lady were to study in Salopia, Charant said that a man who had gone against his oath and betrayed the master expected him to trust him with someone from his family, and he found this ridiculous. He said that even if it was a stone taken from his mansion, he would never trust the baby to this good-for-nothing. Charant told Melan that he would never give him even a stone. Melan said that they would have a hard time if Gella became stronger. Her powers are very strong. Deshar said that he knew that Gella used dark magic. And Dechar warned her. And at first he was confused too and advised not to use it. But she just smiled back and said that she knew it was dangerous and Gella was sure there was nothing to worry about. Meeting Deshar and Charente Clown was not unexpected. It was a long time ago. Gella had been meeting them for some time to express her opinion, and also to learn about the situation in the country. The main character could not avoid meeting them, although she could not stand them, because she realized that this painfully long period of her life helped. Dechar said that Gella was a much better leader than he was. Gella thought she had seen that look on Melan's face before. The Duke said that in his family, his word is law, and even the Emperor cannot dictate to him. And if Melan tries to contradict him again, she will know the power of the Duke's family. It would sound disrespectful, but the main character was sure that he would say it with a smile even in front of the Emperor. In the Duke's territory, his word is law. Gella thought she saw a crown above Deshar Clown's head. He was truly an outstanding leader. The main character wondered if she could wear the crown. Father and Charant started to leave. The main character feels gratitude to these people for the first time. The little girl called her grandfather, and Dechar asked what was going on. Sharina didn't know what to do to thank him and tried to say thank you. She made mistakes. It had been a long day. Charent turned to his father and told them that he had been thinking about something all week. Sharina had used dark magic. Deshar was very busy and did not notice his son. Dechar was surprised to see Charant there. Charant looked at what his father was reading and saw that they were contracts for the purchase of magic crystals. Kant told Charente that his father was busy this week, and now he understood why. Deshard said that Sharina simply liked magic crystals, and they say she is talented, so it would be useless for her to have them. Charant knew that her father paid a lot of attention to the baby, but officially she was not yet part of the family. Charant noted that among all the others, the Imperial magic crystals were the best quality. Deshar said he thought he should talk to the Emperor. Deshar didn't understand why Charante was even there. Charante wanted to talk about the book. This book was in Sharina's room. Charant said that he thought that the little girl used dark magic with this book. Deshar was shocked and did not want to believe it. He asked if his son was talking about Baroness Sullivan. Deshard noted that there was no evidence. Charant said that perhaps Baron Sullivan would suspect something if he hired magicians. If it weren't for their conflict with the Baroness, he would have no one to suspect. Dechard said he would check again just in case and assign someone to sort out the evidence, if there was any. And then there was Sharina to talk to. Charant wondered how his father was going to talk to the little girl when she was only 1 year old. Deshar said that he needed to go to the fortress, and Charant had to talk to the baby. Charant thought about how nothing had been going smoothly since the baby had appeared in their family. The little girl was very happy to see so many crystals. Vera asked if the little girl liked looking at the stones so much. Gella liked it, of course, because there was a bunch of magic stones of level higher than B, and everything was in front of her. When the little girl got them, she wouldn't have to worry about the next couple of years. In addition to this, Gella has another reason to be happy. Recently, the quality of the food provided has improved, and snacks are given regularly. The baby tried to say Vera's name. The maid said she was Vera. When Sharina calls Vera by name, she usually blossoms like a daisy. In this way, Gella studied Vera's behavior every day. This could also be seen as pronunciation training. Gella hoped that it would be like this: life with food, a bed, a pillow, and Vera. It was the perfect paradise. Someone knocked, and Sharina became very curious about who had come there during the meal. It was Charant. He said that the baby was in the process of eating. Gella did not want to see him. Vera greeted the young lord. He asked Vera if she had eaten. The maid told the man that she had not eaten yet, but Charant still ordered her to leave. The baby didn't understand what was happening. Charant said he would feed Sharina himself. The main character didn't want it, and Vera was worried. Vera bowed and said she was leaving. Shireen didn't want Vera to leave her alone. It had been a long time. And how would the main character find out that he hadn't put poison in her food? Charant said that he was not so mean as to put poison in children's food. Gella was very surprised and assumed that he could read minds. But he is the one who can finish her off at will. Gella decided that if necessary, she would run away again. Charant turned to the little. He said that if Sharina used the magic crystals in his presence again, he would take everything away from her. Gella really didn't want this, and was worried about her stones. There was tension between them, but Sharina realized that she didn't seem to have a choice. She was glad that the taste was the same and that Charant wasn't trying to poison her. Charente noticed that, unlike Balian, Sharina seemed to be quite smart. He didn't expect this little girl to use black magic. Gella was horrified that he already knew about black. Gella didn't understand why Charente was laughing. When the man touched the baby, she wanted to scream. He was interested in how much the baby understood him. Gella understood everything he said. The Duke said it would be better if she told him who she was going to kill next. Hela wondered if he realized he was talking to a 1-year-old child. Even if Charente told her she was a cute little genius, he wouldn't bat an eye. Balian clown. That man still hurts others after he died. Charente told the little girl to stop doing senseless things. He wouldn't stalk her or kill her. Sharina just had to be nice and live her life. This is what they call carelessness. The child's time dragged on so tediously. The main character would fall asleep only by closing her eyes or while eating, or even trying to walk. Two weeks had passed since Charant Clown's angry warning, since Charant Clown had not visited her. He had suddenly taken over Vera's duties. Spoon feeding from a distance. There was no point in hiding it anymore. When the vile Charante Clown takes her spoon, the main character gets very angry. Charant is so disgusting and horrible that Gella has recently been training herself to eat. The main character stole a spoon during a meal when Vera wasn't looking. Vera told the baby that she had already arrived, and Sharina was very happy. Vera asked if the baby had called her. Gella admired Vera, especially the smile on her face when she runs to the main character's call. Vera said that Jarina pronounces her name very well and noted that their lady. Gella loved Vera's excited murmuring. Her body, which was getting smaller every day in this house, grew only thanks to Vera's compliments. She didn't even notice how it happened. Vera asked the lady to show her face. The maid brought pudding. Gella didn't know how to live when she was so sad. She didn't understand why she couldn't eat on her own. Earlier, during lunch, Vera was shocked that the lady wanted to eat herself. It was time for spoon training. Gella decided that she could spill a little because it wasn't that. Gella couldn't eat anything from the spoon she put in her mouth. This was because there was nothing on the spoon. Gella spilled everything and didn't even realize it, and she was sure that she would cope well. Her reflexes used to be praised, but now Gella has become a fool. She could have died like that. The main character didn't want to be so stupid. There is nothing besides. Gella will be belittled if her abilities become known. And this is what bothers the main character the most. Vera said that it is cream pudding with caramel syrup. It was absolutely delicious. That's why Vera wanted the little one to try it as soon as possible. Gella didn't know what to do if she was tempted by pudding. She was like a pig. The baby's mouth was filled with sweetness. For the main character, puddings were the best thing that could be invented. She decided that if she returned to Salopia, she would recruit chefs. The clown family were all gourmets. Vera told the baby that the Duke had told her to bring her when they had finished their meal. Vera noticed that the baby was growing every day. Today, Vera is carrying the main character again, and she really didn't like it. Even though Gella loves Vera, if we're talking about who carries in her arms the best, then it's definitely Charente Clown. The main character, of course, did not want to admit it, but he has a son, so it is very convenient for her when he carries her. Well, as for Vera, she simply has little experience with babies. Vera told the little girl that they had arrived. This surprised Gella greatly, because it was a guest room. Now the girl understood why Vera was tense. The maid said that she brought the lady, and Deschar ordered her to carry the baby to him. There were many people in the room, and the baby did not understand what kind of atmosphere this was. Just look at Charente Clown's eyes. Deschar Clown also gives off a chill, and those two on the couch also look tense. Gella pulled Vera by the sleeve so that she wouldn't leave. Deschar noted that it was awkward and unusual to be among people. Gella mentally told Vera not to leave her if she had even a drop of conscience. The little girl seriously thought that Vera could not leave, even if she was a penniless child. The maid told the little girl that she would be outside the door. Sharina really did not want this. The main character understands that Vera depends on her salary, so she will not listen to the little girl. Gella should also have been paid for putting up with all this. Deschar turned to the little girl. He asked her to play with the magic crystal. It looked good. Lately, she has been given magic crystals of level A and higher. Level A is the lowest, but sometimes Gella gets crystals even of level C. Gella didn't understand where Deschar gets so many of them. The woman said that she heard that he was buying the Imperial family's crystals. The main character felt like she had seen this woman somewhere before. Her face was just like that of the man she liked. But Gella decided that it couldn't be like that, because that man couldn't be here. Deschar said they had recently spoken about the crystals, so he and the Emperor had a deal. She said her father was keeping everything quiet again. That wine-colored hair of hers, silver eyes. The baby was enchanted by them. Definitely, but she called Deschar father. To call Deschar Clown that, she must be related to Charente Clown. The main character assumed that she was from the Clown family, but Gella had never heard of a woman of that age in the Clown family. There is no information about her. Gella needs to find out everything. And Gella was also curious about her relationship with this man. He seemed to be a swordsman. Muscular body, serious face. The main character did not think that they were related. He does not have gray eyes. Deschar asked what was wrong with her, since she had just suddenly started talking about Balian's child. The woman said that she was not as similar to Bali as she had assumed. Charente asked Ranian why she was there. The woman told him that he hadn't changed at all. He still talked to his sister the same way. The little girl couldn't believe that it was really Ranian. The Duke asked if Ranian had left her family. Ranian shrugged, and Charente said he would ask again. And again he asked why she was there. Ranian said she was there to take Bali's daughter. She was sure she was being mistreated here. Charente asked for whose sake she was doing this. The woman said she was afraid she would upset them, so she said so. And she doesn't need their permission. Bali asked her to do it. So there shouldn't be any legal problems. That voice and those movements. That's true, Ranian. Gella admired Ranian. She was the soul of the battlefield. And also the love of the main character's life. Charente asked her if she claimed that a dead man had told her this. He remarked that he had never heard such nonsense in his life. Ranian provided the letter and said she thought he had written it in the wake of his sudden death. And it was not long ago that the letter came into her hands. This surprised Deshar, and he asked if she was talking about Balian's letter. Ranian said that he wanted her to take Sharina, because Deshar and Charente could not take care of her. Deshard noted that the baby was well off. Charente said that he wanted to say the same. Ranian said that she would raise Sharina as her own daughter. The main character began to realize that the cool Ranian wanted to adopt her. If this was true, then it would be just wonderful for the little girl. She always hated family problems. Ranian is one of the few people Gella respects and honors. Cool Ranian, the soul of the battlefield. Books are written and songs are composed about her. Even when the sky is filled with darkness and she draws her sword and moves as if the moon had risen in the darkness. She worked as a mercenary, and even as a woman, she gained experience on the front lines. For Ranian, there is a book about her story, the only book she has printed. Hela has 3 first edition books. Hela acquired the sword she used as a novice knight. This sword was sold at auction, and Gella bought it and carefully kept it. The main character collected everything that belonged to her. When her reputation reached the top, people sold her minifigures. Of course, Gella collected them and put them in her workshop. She couldn't believe that Ranian was a member of the clown family. It would be wonderful if Ranian became Sharina's mother. Ranian saw that the baby was reaching out to her and assumed that the baby understood her. The woman picked up Sharina and she just started to glow. Gella was happy to be in Ranian's arms. The baby didn't expect to meet Ranian in this body, so she clung to the woman. She had strong arms and body, but she was colder than Gella thought. It was incredible that she was related to the clowns. Ranian asked the little girl if she would like to go with her. Sharina wanted to say yes, but she couldn't. But in her mind, the little girl was ready to follow Ranian to the ends of the earth. The main character did not understand how a person could be so wonderful. It was incredible, because Ranian was also very beautiful. Ranian remarked that it was very good that the little girl was not shy around strangers. Charente said that he would not put up. The woman turned to the Duke and said that she had already told him that she had not come here for his permission. Deshard said that she would not dare to do anything in front of him. Because they take good care of Balian's child. Ranian said that it just can't be because they are the clown family, and they won't be able to raise this child. Ranian told her father that he knew she couldn't give birth on her own anyway. Deshar said that Sharina was special, and that's why she wouldn't be able to raise her properly. The daughter asked Deshar if magic was the cause. Balian wrote in a letter that since his wife had magic, Sharina had it too. Deshar asked again if he had really written that in the letter. Charente said that the knights had enough power to destroy any evil. Gella has never felt divine power. Therefore, she never thought about becoming a knight. Among knights and priests, there are ways to hide divine power at a certain level. If you look closely, you can see a comet in those dark pupils. After all, this is a high-class knight. This means that Gella almost failed her target by making a mistake in her magic. The man asked if he was interfering, and Charant firmly said yes. The dark archmages and priests are on different sides. If they come into contact for a short time, their abilities may disappear or worsen. A priest or knight will become weak and helpless against a strong archmage. Conversely, dark archmages will be powerless against a powerful knight or priest. Dark archmages and priests cannot coexist. They negatively influence each other. And it seems that this guy knows about it. The little girl started calling for her grandfather. She wanted Deschar to help her, because Gella's dark magic might disappear if she stayed here too long. Charant noticed that the child answered them. Charant told her to leave. There was no bad treatment. Ranian asked if he was telling her that this family, which was so concerned about the purity, Charant said he could think whatever he wanted, but the baby's last name was still Clown. Dechard asked her to leave because taking the child away was bad for her too. Gella didn't understand what was happening because she thought it was connected with the knight. And Gella couldn't believe that they were on her side now. Ranian asked why. Charant said that he thought the man next to him already knew the answer. Ranian exchanged glances with the knight. Her disappointed expression was like a knife to the heroine's. If it weren't for the dark magic, Gella would have left. But then she thought about maybe leaving this night. Ranian said that something happened, so she had to leave them. The main character realized that she had given up on Sharina. Gella was sure that she would bring her more joy than that night. Ranian said goodbye to the baby. The little girl willingly waved her hand. Gella wanted to apologize because she loves Ranian very much, but this is not enough to satisfy the main character's hatred. Gella hoped that then she would recognize her. All Sharina could do now was lie low and wait. After all, if Sharina's body grew a little more, she would be able to use magic. After Ranian's visit, the mansion was filled with peace. Time flowed very smoothly. And now Gella was already 3 years old. The little girl sat and drew. Keishan came and asked Sharina if she was here. So, it was already the 2nd year that Gella was in Sharina's body. Now she was. Keishan, who watches Sharina tirelessly, is now 7 years old. Gella has noticed that the older he gets, the more handsome he becomes. And he really does like to look for Sharina. It irritates her. It was a pity that Gella's spatial mobility was still at a low level. The little girl had a constant stupidity, drawing and nodding her head. When Sharina was growing up, she could calm down without a pacifier. But if she was careless, she would behave like a child. When thoughts that required concentration flashed through the baby's mind, there was nowhere to go without a pacifier. But Gella is still glad that she doesn't need a pacifier for most things in her daily life. First, the little one had to get rid of that annoying thing that is Keishan. The baby teleported, and fortunately, she can now walk on her own. The maid accidentally touched Sharina and apologized very much, justifying it by saying that she was very small. Of course, the maids still ignore the baby. Charant and Deschar Clown don't know about it. As soon as Sharina learned to walk, she avoided them and they rarely see each other. Everyone lost interest in Sharina and returned to their previous activities. Deschar Clown often called her to tell him Grandpa. He treated Sharina and gave her magic stones. Hella didn't know what good it was to call a useless child. It looked like the owner was playing with his pet. The maid said the girl's mother was a gypsy. They said over and over that Sharina had spoiled their dear young master. The servants did not understand why a child was kept in. The main character didn't care. But these words still enraged her, so the little girl really wanted to get out of here. After she was caught using black magic, Gella can't kill those but her mana recovery ability is also slower than expected. It is possible that this is due to daily practice with magic. Now the baby can use more types of magic than in infancy. But that's not enough. Gel needs the level she had before her rebirth. And practice takes a lot of time. And Sharina doesn't want to be in this mansion. And then the little girl heard Charante's voice asking how long Sharina would stay there. She decided to take a peek and saw Deschard, and Desher asked how old Sharina was. The Duke replied that she was 3 and noted that it was time to let her go. Desher noted that his son was right. Gella did not understand where they were going to send her. Charant noted that since she had clown blood in her, after all, she should attend the academy until she came of age. Gella wondered if there was such a thing, and then she remembered that she had heard that the nobles sent illegitimate or useless children to the nursery at the academy. Hela did not understand how they dared to do such a thing. The main character thought that it would be better to leave her at home. Dechar noted that he was sure that they would gradually find a way out of the situation. Deshar asked his son when the last appointment was for this year. Charant saw Sharina. The girl just wanted to be left alone. Thanks to Deshar Clown's generosity, Sharina has no need for money until she comes of age. The baby asked if she would be thrown out. Deshar said nothing. Sharina asked when she would be thrown out. She wanted Dechar to talk, because then she would be able to find out about orphanage. Gella wanted to at least prepare before she was thrown out. Dechar asked when he said that. He said he just wanted to send the... Dechar asked Sharina to pretend she hadn't heard anything, because nothing had been decided yet. Sharina said that was the same. Gella wanted them to admit that they just wanted to get rid of her. It was a waste of time to spend her beautiful youth at the academy. Gella wanted Charant to quickly tell her to just... Gella didn't understand why Charante froze. The little girl started screaming for them to just get rid of her. The main character was annoyed by the slurred pronunciation. The main character didn't understand why they wanted to send her there. If something irritated them, they could just get rid of her so she could... If Gella were in their place, she would immediately get rid of useless people like Sharina, and the child could be given to someone to take care of. But if she were more strict, she would... Charant asked Sharina why she was walking there. The little girl said that she was going for a walk. Charant understood her and told her to come back. Gella didn't understand when she would be thrown out. Deshar turned to Sharina and gave her magic stone. It was definitely a level C stone. Sharina was very grateful. Dechar told the little girl that he did not hate her. However, there were irreversible The main character wanted him to stop making excuses. They love her, but due to insurmountable circumstances, they will turn away from her. The main character believed that Dechar Clown was not a coward, but she was wrong. However, with the magic stones, Sharina decided to leave and smile. Gella decided that she would find out about orphanages. She wanted to go to the orphanage furthest from the capital. It had to be on a mountaintop where rumors wouldn't reach. The girl decided that she would definitely find something in the library. The little girl drew words on the card saying that she had left. Everything was ready. Since each drawing would take up the entire sheet, she would only be able to draw them all on a large number of sheets. Gella didn't know if this would work. It was small, and they'll find out that Sharina left it. But she didn't think she'd stay with the clowns, and it was better for her to just leave. But they might not even recognize her. The main character used red to make it more noticeable. Gella wasn't even sure. She needed to at least say something. She considered herself kind. Charant Clown is smart, so he will understand. The main character has done everything that was required. Now she just needs to leave the house, which she warned about. According to the library, there are many orphanages in the Empire. In the capital, there are plenty of them too. But Gella decided to go far away. This time they can kill her for real. The further, the better. With Gella's current abilities, she will have to travel through space about 5 times. Luckily, she has magic. The modern world is completely different from this. They can put things in there and take them out, so it can store things. But even with spells, it will be hard to create space. So the main character only has path 1. She needs to feed her imagination. She can't put it into words, so she can only imagine it in her head. Magic doesn't work with such big words. The power will be much weaker than at the beginning. All that was left was to leave the mansion. Vera asked the little girl if she was there. The maid brought food. Gella heard a lot from Vera, who cared about Sharina more than anyone else. It was a pity to leave her when Sharina was only 3 years old. Vera asked again and said that she was, of course, happy because Sharina was here, and the maid told the little girl to eat a lot and grow big and become a sorceress. Gella was not sure about the others, but she had to give Vera a gift. Vera said that she was leaving and wished the baby good dreams. Sharina turned to Vera. She thanked the maid. The main character decided that she would go now. Meeting them was a mistake from the very beginning, so the decision to leave is the right one. Gella finally escapes with mixed feelings. Charente and Ditchar Clown are not as bad as she thought. Sometimes they cared about the main character, and Keishan too. Gella was sad to leave what she had worked on. And the barrier of space, the promise of time travel. The land on the other side cannot be reached, so the hidden path will be revealed to the main character. House of Fortune. The main character is finally here. She needed to rest every 3 hours to use magic. The baby got here. Gella was tired from the 10-hour journey. If she stayed here, someone would decide that she had been abandoned and take her with them. The woman opened the doors and did not understand what this child was doing there. Gella understood that she had to make herself look as miserable as possible. The little girl asked pitifully if she could eat here. Gella was not used to formalities. A nice-looking woman and a naive boy. They looked alike, and so the girl decided that they must be related. The woman asked who said that. The little girl wanted to say that the little girl said it was her uncle, but all she got from Charente Clown was stress. Gella said her uncle told her to wait here and then she would get food. This surprised the woman very much, and she asked who the baby's uncle was. She felt sorry for the child because she assumed that the baby had been abandoned. But it wasn't like that. The main character left them and she wasn't abandoned. She was no longer weak and helpless, and no one would abandon Gella. The woman picked being here is already a success. Charente won't be coming here anyway, so there's no need to be upset. Maybe he'll be happy. The girl said that everything was great. The woman said to go with her. Gella didn't know if she was wrong or not, but it seemed to her that the woman was excited. In the morning, Vera went into the baby's room and asked the lady if she was up. The maid noticed that the sun's rays were so beautiful today, so she asked if she wanted to go for a walk after breakfast. But the room was quiet, and Vera thought it was strange because usually Sharina greeted her or mumbled something under her breath. It was so quiet. Vera threw off the blanket and realized that the baby was gone. On the bed were some pieces of paper that said she had left. There was a huge war in the Empire 10 years ago. The main reason was the unification of lands. In the end, it was obvious that more orphanages were needed, and the condition of all of them was terrible. Fortunately, there was still one. This place is regularly sponsored, so its infrastructure is better than other shelters. The little girl noticed that the animals were wandering around the garden calmly. The nannies here treat the children well, and the children themselves look decent. Gella decided that she must have made the right choice. She asked if she had a name. The main character has 2 names, but she can't name either one, or maybe she needs to say something so she doesn't find out. The main character was in a hurry and combined 2 names, Gella and Sharina. She thought it sounded normal. The woman said it was a wonderful name. The nanny told Helsha that they should bathe first. The woman was shocked and said that the baby was really good. Gella was completely clean. The woman said she would introduce her to the others. Gella didn't want that. After all, it would be a meeting with a crowd. The main character understood that it was unlikely that she would be allowed to live alone in a room. And she did not think that, but Gella told herself not to be weak, because she would only be here for 2 to 3 years. The nanny introduced the little girl to the playroom. Even though the nanny told her to go play with her friends. The little girl said, okay, but the woman corrected her and said that she should say, okay. Gella was surprised that she had to adjust her answers. If her memory serves her, her family members also fought. Some still couldn't recover from the loss. Then it's logical to fight for power. Wars are disgusting. Gella said well to the headmistress. The woman was very happy that the little girl was learning so quickly. She asked Helsha to feel at home, but Gella did not understand why she was talking about her home. Decker asked her with a shout what she was talking about. He shouted at Vera for losing her child again. Vera, with tears in her eyes, said, today the maid came to see how Sharina had fallen asleep yesterday and to wake her up. But when Vera entered the room, the little girl was not there. Charant asked her father what had happened. Deschard turned to Charante and said that Sharina was missing. He asked again. Charanta thought about how he had told the little girl 100 times. Charant said he thought she had gone out and would be back soon. Vera told the Duke that this time it was different and the lady had left a letter. This surprised the Duke and he asked again, noting that she had not yet learned to write. Vera provided the letter. Charant read, "I am leaving. Bye." Charant asked if she had left this note and suggested that she was playing treasure hunt and left this note. They did not know what to do, because Sharina could get into trouble. Deschard told Vera to go and rest while he took care of everything. He didn't understand if Sharina had really left home. Charant noted that her favorite the Duke asked his son if he really thought so. For a child living in the chocolate here, there is only one reason to just give up everything and leave. Kant was asked if anyone had seen her in the evening, but the man said no. But a couple of days ago, he heard the lady say that Charant was surprised that she could read. Kant said that she could read all those books and he didn't pay attention because he thought she was just hanging around. The young Duke did not understand how Sharina could read because no one taught her. Charant could not believe that such a small child could be so smart. People might look at her clumsy scribbles and think they are drawings, but if you look closely, you can see the letters. Kant had to find her, but keep it a secret. And it's not that hard to find the baby, because there aren't many shelters, and no matter how smart Sharina was, she was still a child, and they would find her in no time. But Charant didn't know why it bothered him so much. He told his father not to worry, because he would find her soon. The headmistress asked all the children to stand in a row. Gella understood that something was wrong here, since they were not so obedient. The children seemed, but at the same time, full of anticipation. The woman was handing out candies. Gella looked closely and saw that they were The woman told Lila that she was smart and asked her to go play there. She didn't know where her candy was. Gella hadn't eaten pudding for several days and was going to go crazy soon. The headmistress told the little girl to be patient for a while because soon she would be going to a more favorable place. This surprised her very much because not even 3 days had passed, but the main character understood that there was nothing she could do, and she would just have to accept it. The woman said that everyone who received candy should follow her. A girl came up to Gella and said that she was probably the headmistress's next target. She said not to trust that woman. Every time. The girl didn't understand what kind of horror stories they were telling. They said that no one knew where they had gone. And one day she took the children away. The main character noted that, judging by her frightened expression, it did not seem like she was lying. That is, in fact, the headmistress simply wants to sell Gella at a higher price, saying that she will supposedly go to a better place. The main character, in any case, she shouldn't have been acting weird about her just based on her appearance. The little girl pointed at the children and asked where they had gone, because the same person comes every time. He visits them once every 3 months or 6 months. The little girl asked if they were, to be precise, they seemed to be 11 or 12 years old. Apparently older children were not in demand. Gella, of course, had heard that there were institutions, but they do crazy things. But Gella never thought that she would just end up in a place where people are traded. Gella didn't know any, but fortunately, compared to the current order, Gella can calmly go wherever she wants. She won't be able to walk, but she can. There are 2 types of human trafficking. The first is when children are bought by married couples or aristocrats who cannot have their own. It's like an adoption that doesn't follow official procedures, so there's no paper trail. Not a bad way to. And the second is when they sell to dangerous people. In this case, there is not even any guarantee that the children will survive. Leaving the shelter was already a feat, and finding another one was even more difficult. Gella could not believe that there was no normal shelter where she could stay for just 2 years. The man told the little girl that they would see each other on the appointed day. It didn't look like the robes that wizards were given in Siliphi, so it was unclear where he was from. He greeted the main character. This young man does not look good at all, and it seems like dark energy is emanating from him. The stranger noted that this was a very unexpected surprise, and the baby was not on the list he received. The number of curses and Gella couldn't even imagine how many people he had killed. The main character assumed that he was a black magician. The man sat down next to the main character and said that he was looking for a child with the same magical abilities as Gella. This meant that he was quite experienced. Gella decided that it was worth trying to attack him, even as a child. And then, the most powerful weapon of children is, it's easy to start a tantrum. The main character screamed that she doesn't want to go anywhere. Gella is only 3 years. Black magic is not particularly useful in combating a person who is energetically strong. If a person is not a powerful, the man said he thought the little girl had no choice. The little girl said she didn't care and wouldn't go anywhere. Gella was too beautiful. Even in novels, the most interesting characters die first. But Gella never thought she would be one of them. She needs to figure out where to run. The main thing is to go where there is no such guy. Gell managed to see such a powerful sorcerer for the first time in her entire life. If the main character makes even the slightest mistake now, it could cost her her life. He even smiles like a The man asked the lady to sell the baby. Money was no problem. The woman said she didn't know how to tell him, and he will pay twice as much as anyone else. Gella was shocked that they already wanted to sell her. The stranger asked how long it would take her to complete this training. The woman said that, whatever the case, he would have to wait a month. The man said 2 weeks. The main character did not understand what the training would be like in 2 weeks. The headmistress said that she would try. The main character did not understand why she always managed to get into trouble. Gella believed that a 3-year-old Gella would be outraged why she had to be born into this world if she was a child. Or maybe she left the mansion too early. Sharina realized that maybe she should have stayed there until the academy. Everything would have been different. Now she had to deal with these difficulties. The man said with a smile that they would see each other next time, but the little girl said threateningly that she would not. After these words, he grabbed Sharina's hand. Gella realized it was magic. He put the bracelet on the baby's hand. And then the man said that she probably had magical powers since birth. And she was not like the others, which meant it would be easier to train her. It feels like Gella can no longer use magic, and her body is so weak. The man said he would come for her in 2 weeks. The woman called the little girl Leela and told her that all this had happened because she had not listened to the headmistress. Therefore, she should sit in the locker, and Gella didn't understand why she was always like this. The reason she was locked alone in this dark room was quite simple. Today, the headmistress said that the little girl should hit an innocent girl, but Gella couldn't just do it. Moreover, she didn't understand why they would hit a little girl who had done nothing. However, other children do everything the headmistress asks them to do without question. If she tells them to wait, they wait. She gives them candy for good behavior. The children are simply obsessed with getting another one. Gella assumed that this was the education the headmistress was talking. It has been about 30 years since the war ended. But if you count the minor battles that followed, it is only 10. During the war, children suffered the most when they became orphans. They had nothing. No food, no shelter. If it weren't for, she convinced them of this, each time forcing them to painfully feel this fact. At the same time, she easily brainwashed them that they should obey her. Gella assumed that this woman was going to do the same to her. But she was invincible, like the warrior Gella. Nothing happened, and the little girl realized that she couldn't use magic. Who would have thought that after leaving home, she would end up in a shelter for human trafficking, where now the main character was unable to use even minor magic. It was unclear how this bracelet, which is difficult to find in everyday life, the main character needed to get a good look at his face. She remembers all the powerful archmages. Gella didn't know who he was. All of Gella's hopes for possible liberation simply evaporated after she lost the right to use magic. Here is free time. Gella can be completely calm because she will not be killed until she is sold to someone. But if she goes back, there is a chance to die. Gella was already imagining how happy they must be at home after she had disappeared. Thinking about it, something inside. In fact, after thinking about it again, Gella realized that it would probably have been better to leave home after entering the academy rather. As a 3-year-old child, the main character is not particularly able to do anything. If Gella had known that something like this would happen later, she would have endured it. No matter how much she racked her brains, it seemed that the main character was in a completely hopeless situation. Gella decided that she just needed to be obedient and run away as soon as such an opportunity arose. In the meantime, the main character should sleep. Sleep is the best way to restore strength. After that, Gella obeyed the headmistress. And today, The woman asked Lala to stretch out her arms. This happened to the main character. Gella was not afraid at all. On the contrary, the girl felt as if she had returned to the distant past. Near the end of the war, when Gella was young, she found herself on the battlefield. Gella understood that this was a test of how far children could go, unquestioningly listening to the given orders. A method of education, as long as there is candy in the hands of an adult. The manager tamed them perfectly with this. She gave a good impression, as if she could forgive the children, and if the child obeys her properly, he will definitely be rewarded, even if in reality it is just a candy. When Gella thinks about her childhood, she can come to terms with this order. The time when corpses were lying everywhere and she was left to starve and drink rot. Compared to the past, something like this does not hurt the little girl at all. Gella managed to come up with an escape plan. At the moment when the sorcerer, then Gella would be able to take the teleportation stone and go anywhere. The woman asked her to do it already. The little girl heard a very familiar voice, soft and pious, without the slightest flaw. His voice is so confident and cool that Sharina feels sick. Charant threw the guy away. The headmistress rushed to him. The main character was a little surprised. Sharina asked why. In fact, Gella was a lot surprised, and she would never have. Charant sat down next to the little girl and asked her why she had left home. The moment she saw his face, she felt a strange, at least it was a relief that she could get out of here. Gella realized that she had been very stupid. She had overestimated her ability. Gella had no idea how helpless a 3-year-old child could be. It was so impulsive and reckless of Gella. The little girl asked Charant if he would kill her. The Duke said that he had already said that he would never throw her out or kill her unless she did something stupid. That's what he said then. And the baby asks because that's exactly what she did. Charant picked up. The children began to shout at the Duke not to offend the headmistress. For the children, the headmistress is the best mentor and the only lifeline, and even if she sent them to the very depths of hell, they would still follow her. He didn't understand how Sharina had ended up in an orphanage. Gella herself didn't expect to find herself here. Apparently, the main character acted extremely stupid. Charant asked Sharina if they were going to go or if the little girl wanted to stay here. Gella said she wanted to go home. The main character needed to go back 10 steps. At the same time, think about what would happen next. Charant said that she would soon find out who he was. In the meantime, she could run as fast as she could, preferably as far. Charant and Sharina rode together in the carriage. The Duke did not say a word during the journey. He must have been very angry. Still, in gratitude for his care for her, the secret documents remained untouched. Gella decided to feel sorry for him, although she herself had not yet been. The Duke asked the little girl why she left home. Gella was angry because he and Deshar themselves said that they would send her to the academy. For the main character, it was very difficult to pronounce the word academy, and no one even realizes how difficult it is to speak with such a short. Charant asked if she did all this because of the academy. The little girl confirmed it. She wanted the. Still, the question was different. The girl did not know how best to ask him about it. The main character noted that her pronunciation was not so bad. She supposed that she had been going over it in her head too often. Hella felt like she had spoken the name Charant Clown for the first time in her life. The Duke had said that it was so. Charant said he hated the baby's father and mother. He hated them all, even her sister. The Duke can't stand and those who refuse to fulfill their own duties and behave as they please. Charant speaks softly and easily, but his voice is like ice. He probably puts too much effort into just saying, "I hate you." Gella didn't understand why there were so many things he hated anyway. Charant is not some 7-year-old. Gella, I don't even know since when he has been so picky. It was still 3 years, and so the main character decided that she had greatly overestimated herself. She should save up some. Gella confirmed this. Charente was surprised. The main character did not understand. Sharina is going to leave when she turns 7, and Charant, in turn, just has to turn a blind eye to it. The little girl said that he hates her, and she him. Charant asked again. Gella was angry because he himself had just said that he couldn't stand her, but it seemed that he didn't particularly like. The main character said that she hates everyone. The Duke asked if she was unhappy with something at home. She didn't like. For example, if you compare her room with Caitian's room, it is several times smaller and therefore there is not enough. The girl noticed that the Duke sighed and did not understand what it meant. At first, she assumed that he was not going to raise her until she was 7 years old. She thought Charant was very petty, because he had a lot of money. and so Gella suggested changing the figure to 5 years. Valian had changed greatly after his accident as a child. He loved to play with the peasants, roll in the mud, and did not behave. They were born in the same house, but he allowed himself too many liberties. And one day, he stumbled. Charant said that Sharina could live in peace as long as she was in the clown's house. She would be under Charant's personal protection. Gella refused. She had never seen anyone succeed by just standing still. She was tired of always putting up, just like the wizards did when Salofia didn't exist, and when the main character had to survive as a child during the war. A life where she would whether it is a real family or a friend, before a possible benefit, they will definitely stab the back of a loved one. Gella has no desire to be under Charant's protection. She has been through too much and can decide for herself who she can trust. This was exactly what Gella wanted. Charenti noted that she really did. Sharina asked how he found her. No matter how powerful the clown family was, Gella never thought they would find her in such a place. What kind of duke would think of going to a human trap? Moreover, she did not understand whether it was possible to just show up and leave everything as it was. The little girl asked if the headmistress. Gella thought that if he could find her, who had not left a single clue, then finding the headmistress would not be difficult for him. In fact, the main character managed to film the coordinates of the manager and her son. But, to be precise, she grabbed their hair and hid it in the sole of her shoe. The more people commit evil deeds, the more sins accumulate. Because of this, the dark energy becomes stronger. The little girl showed him her bracelet. It seemed to her that the magic was blocked even by a simple touch. Charant noted that this was. Charant asked Sharina who had put it on her. The little girl said she didn't know. The Duke realized that it must have been a stranger. The main character agreed and said that some man put it on her. Charant assumed that the man who used it was a magician. Gella did not understand why such a smart Duke was looking for her, and it seemed that if she left the letter and left, then everything would be fine. Charant said that he saw. Gella asked why he went looking for her then. But Gella had no idea that Charante Clown himself would go looking for her. He hated her, and in turn, Gella showed her hostility towards him with all. Charant said he didn't know either, and added that perhaps he should have just left her. Charant asked her to sleep and said he would call a doctor as soon as they arrived. The baby said she didn't feel like it. Charant said she had to sleep anyway. He certainly couldn't stand even the slightest rudeness. Charante's voice was so enveloping. The man said that he was not so cold-blooded as to disdain those who had not yet grown up. Gella noticed that it was not because he was like that, but because the people around him lived a decent and good life. The sudden drowsiness and the warmth of someone else's body patting her on the back did not leave her main character for a long time, and she went into. Seeing the expression on Desher's face, the little girl knew that he would pounce on her right now. He asked Sharina if she didn't like the academy. Of course she didn't like it because there was nothing good there. Students were forced to live in an academy that contained too many rules. Desher asked what was the problem with just saying it. Gell had a hard time speaking with such a terrible pronunciation. Sharina apologized. Be that as it may, the main character is still guilty. Charant corrected her and said, sorry. Gella did. She couldn't address the members of the clown family with respect. In fact, she always behaved respectfully during negotiations. Charant said no pudding. Hella couldn't understand how he could behave like that with pudding, her only happiness. And Charante, of course, has money and power, and he can eat whatever he wants. But Sharina can only eat. Sharina apologized. Deshard noted that their Sharina was not herself, because bowing for some pudding was not like. Deshard said he was worried about the baby. Gella said she left a letter. The main character was in solidarity with him, but still considered it a letter despite the fact that it only had a few words. It seemed, namely, that she couldn't escape properly and messed things up. Deshard noted that, as he had said before, nothing had been decided yet. The little girl said 7, and Deshard asked again if she wanted to say that she would go there at 7. But Gella planned to just leave home. But since she shared this with Charant Clown, she had to lie a little. Charant told her father that Gella was very angry that he told her this. Now she understood where this snitch Kishan came from. Exactly the same as Charente. The baby wanted to be a baby again. Gella decided that she should probably talk about it more sensibly. Deshard asked Sharina if anything was bothering her at home. In the Empire, it is forbidden to enter the names of a person. Since Valiant Clown was already considered dead at that time, there is simply no evidence of Sharina's existence. However, it is possible the main character will leave this mansion as soon as she has the strength for revenge. It seems that she is slowly. The little girl asked how Vera was, and Deshar said that she was terribly shocked by her disappearance, so she decided to take a. Sharina should have apologized to her. Gella asked if she could go. She decided to pretend to be pretty. That's their relationship. Gella is just using him, and Dechar is trying to be nice in every way possible but the little girl called him a coward. If they wanted to gain the child's trust and love, they should stop treating him like a pet. Meanwhile, the headmistress was being scolded by a man. The woman said that it was her fault and gave back the money that was given to her as a The man noted that the headmistress knew that he did not like being lied to. He asked who had done it. The woman said that she did not know, and some man came and took her away with him. He had black hair and silver eyes. He was tall and his clothes looked expensive, so he was probably a nobleman. The man said that he was Charant Clown of the Clown family. Of all the aristocrats the male mage knows, he is the only one who fits that description. He has never heard that he has a daughter. The woman did not understand how the clown's daughter ended up in front of the shelter's walls. She said that he was probably her uncle. After all, when Lila first came here, the man thought about it and didn't believe that it was his niece. But if you think about it, the Clown family attached more importance to, and only Charant Clown, who had a huge responsibility on his shoulders, became a real clown. It doesn't take a genius to guess that things not bad. The mage isn't so low as to take advantage of a child growing up in captivity, and he won't be so desperate to find her now that he must have thought it too doubtful that a child with silver eyes was in an orphanage. That's when he went looking for her. Since AC said that the headmistress already had the mark of death on her. It was one of the signs of black magic. Apparently, someone was trying to stealing someone else's loot was not Asha's style. He said he would take all the remaining children. This surprised the woman. The man said everyone, since they would never see her again. You don't make deals with the dead. The woman said that's what she was about to suggest. He thought he would have to leave empty-handed after hearing about Clown, but here's a surprise. Asi asked where the woman was going. The woman said she did not know he was a member of the Clown family, and noted that she was considering leaving the Empire with her son. People with the mark of black magic will never be able to get rid of it. Ancient black magic is as powerful as it is. Maybe she'll be lucky if the magician decides to erase the mark from her for a good reward. Asi wasn't sure of her sincere goodwill. The woman asked the gentleman. She wanted to know where he was going to take the children. Today, Asya was in a good mood. He said they would be digging ore. The headmistress asked if that was all they would be doing. He managed to find children he could use. And black magic impressed him quite a bit. And besides, the manager who is planning to deal with all this, if it is not their last. 2 days after Charante Clown removed the bracelet from Sharina, to create a tool capable of controlling. Unlike magic stones, which are mined in special states, the philosophical stone can only be found in ruins. However, strangely enough, only people with magical abilities can process philosopher's stones. This is due to the fact that at the moment when the philosopher's stone begins to absorb the magician's power, apparently it took Charante Clown a long time to get it, since only true masters have it. Of course, anyone with magical powers can cut off the bracelet with a sword. The little girl turned to Vera and asked her to eat. Vera said that she would stay here, and it seemed that now she would have to dine with her. Hella noticed that she looked angry, but she would not go anywhere. The maid said that the baby should lie down and she would stay with her until she fell asleep. And so it goes on for several days. She does not leave Sharina's side for a single step. At night, she always waits until she falls asleep first, and then sits for several more hours. The main character literally went speechless at the sight of her tear-stained face. She thought she would be furious, not quietly, convulsively crying. Gella understood that she was guilty. Vera was so worried about her, but still, she cannot promise that she will always be with her. Besides, the bracelet has already been removed from Sharina, and it is time for her to put a curse on the manager. But Gella cannot be left alone even for a minute. Sharina thought that maybe she should apologize to Vera again. A wave of strong magic. The little girl understood that if things suddenly started to collapse now, Vera would die first. She did not understand why Vera was sacrificing herself for a person she barely knew. Vera asked Sharina if she was okay. Gella didn't understand what just happened. It wasn't because of the mansion shaking. The main character is an intermittent vibration and a strange earthquake, as if something below wanted to break out. Such an anomaly, something like this used to be the norm. This happens because the ruins are under a barrier created by ancient mages. Magic is extremely active in such places, and then the council in Solofia was the first to learn about the places where ruins appeared, warning other states about it. It seems there was no notice this time. Of course, it can take a long time to find ruins in places far from civilization, such as dense forests or the sea wilderness. But it was strange not to notice the ruins appearing inside the Empire. Gella didn't understand where Melan had disappeared to. Before getting rid of, there are a number of reasons why it is worth preparing for the appearance of ruins in advance. They do not just appear out of nowhere, which means that sooner or later something will happen. This creature guards the ruins. They are always under its protection, or to be more precise, the entrance to them is under close control. In this regard, a special envoy from Solofia should arrive soon. He will most likely be sent to the Imperial Palace. There may also be a research team if necessary. Sharina suggested Vera to leave here. The woman thought it was a good idea. Kishana asked Papa to calm down because the boy saw Sharina. Sharant asked if the little girl was hurt. Vera said no. Gella didn't understand why he was asking, because Vera had just said it. Gella had said that she was fine. The main character was not herself because Sharente Clown is more suited to swearing. They went out onto the steps. There was panic all around, and it wasn't just the clown mansion. It was everywhere. Some of the Empire's houses might have been leveled already. Be that as it may, the state treasury is not made of rubber, and Silofia is just a little bit away from going broke because of everything. Of course, she has nothing to worry. Dacher ordered everyone to stop panicking and to inspect the mansion. They were also to check if there were any wounded. The Duke asked Charant what was wrong with the children. Keishan said he was just a little scared, but everything was fine. Deschard calmed down. The man asked if the little girl was hurt. Gella replied that she was fine. Charant corrected her again, and Gella remembered that she still had to bow. The protective magic of the clown's mansion must be quite strong, since everyone was so unquestioningly following the orders they received. The little girl assumed that Vera was probably also busy helping the other maids, and she was impatient to get out of here. Keishan took Sharina's hand and said that since he was her brother, he had to protect her. Gella wondered what he was going to do with his eyes swollen from tears. He's 7 years old and still acts like a little boy. But that's kind of cute. Anyway, she wants to see the current location. Gella in a flash. Just a little teleportation magic and she's right there. Sharente told Sharina not to even think about. Sharant asked Kisan to make sure that Sharina did not go anywhere. The boy was very happy and told his father that he would. It was very unfair, because the ruins are the main character's whole life. And Gella also wants to excavate. Deshar asked Charant if there was any news from Silofia. Charant said he had sent a message to the Citadel. The woman greeted Duke Clown. Charant noted that uninvited guests had arrived. The man asked if Charant greeted His Majesty and remarked that it was an unexpected meeting, and that he did not even recognize him at first, because he usually looked different. Gella didn't understand what the Emperor was doing here. It had been less than an hour since the earthquake, and he was already here. Gella was surprised and wondered if all members of the Imperial family had such golden hair. En pointed at Gella. Charant said no. Sharina couldn't help herself and said no. Being Charant's daughter would be a complete nightmare. The Emperor introduced Ellie and Dally. He told them to go play with Kishan, but they shouldn't hurt him because he was the Duke's nephew. Desher asked His Majesty if something had happened. The Emperor said that they probably knew that new ruins had appeared. He said that this place is only 5 kilometers from the village of Onyx. The little girl was surprised that it was only 5 kilometers. A little more than 100, and the guardian of the ruins could easily mistake the inhabitants of the settlement for invaders. Guardians, depending on the ones with wings, usually protect large areas. That roar Gella heard just now, that must have been a wyvern. A small but particular. Charant asked if there was any news from Silofia. The Emperor said that there had been no warning, and in fact, that was understandable. At the moment, they are monitoring the existing ruins. The ruins appear suddenly, their direction is quite difficult to determine, so they cannot blame them for. Gella thought that he would now start blaming Silofia for everything, but it turned out that he would not. Apparently, the Emperor, but it was their job to watch for ruins to emerge. They should have sent a dispatch to the palace, at least. The Emperor had already been given information about the Keeper and how to get into the ruins. This surprised Deshar. They couldn't predict the possible appearance of the ruins. Then how could they know about the situation inside was unclear. Getting into the ruins is very difficult. Since ancient magic was cast on them, not everyone can get in. There are mandatory requirements. In some cases, only people who have solved the puzzle can get inside. Gella has but even stranger, Solofia didn't notice the sudden wave of magic. Gella even made a special magic magnifying glass for emergencies. The Emperor said that in any case, they had gotten rid of their only leader with whom they could negotiate. They all seemed to realize the full extent of the mistake they had made. This news gave Gella goosebumps. She couldn't breathe. Charant took the baby in his arms and asked her to calm down. As soon as the main character's body was overwhelmed by this strange feeling, everything around her suddenly turned white. The girl pressed. The Emperor remarked that the Duke's niece must be very sensitive. Over time, Hela stopped trembling as soon as Charente asked Sharina if she was okay. The little girl said yes, and he sent her to Kayshan. Now that the main character did not understand how the greatest Gella could be so scared that her knees were shaking. Gella did not understand why he left. The ruler noticed that they were thinking of sending a few people. Gella stood near them and wanted to eavesdrop on something, because in this way she might be able to learn something about the ruins. The Emperor's daughter approached the little girl and asked her name. Hela wanted her to go away somewhere, because she was. Kayshan came up and told her that the baby's name was Sharina. Gella praised Kayshan in her mind because it was good for her that he was talking to her. The Emperor asked if the power of the owner of even one artifact was comparable to the power of an entire army. Instead, the man noted that, if you think about it, everyone in the Empire, Charente already has it. Gella realized that the little girl was curious about what this artifact was, because they had never spoken. Therefore, the main character simply has to. The Emperor's daughter introduced herself and said that she was Eliane, and that her younger brother, Delian, was standing next to her. She was pleased to, which couldn't be said about Sharina. The baby was just waiting for this girl to leave. The Emperor said he thought the palace could use another artifact. The main character listened to everything and did not understand what kind of artifact it was and what they were talking. Eliane was touched, looking at Sharina, and said that she was very cute. And Dalian did not understand why she did not pay attention to. Gella needed to deal with them quickly because they were only bothering her. But of course she wouldn't do that, because little kids should play with little kids. Keishan was shocked and very happy to see his sister called her name. The boy approached her and asked why she called him. Gella could not say that he would become a copy of Charente when Charant's son is certainly a real nuisance, but he treats Gella like a real sister. And that means he'll always be on. Sharina, with her eyes downcast, told her brother that she was scared. Keishan quickly stood in front of her and told the children that his sister was scared. The main character noted that he behaves like a real clown, because only they are capable of so proudly blocking the path of members of the Imperial family. Charant told the Emperor that he would do as he said, and by tomorrow everything would be ready. The ruler said that it was extremely urgent, so they would set out tomorrow at noon. Gella wanted them to tell her how to get into the ruins. She missed a chance that would have helped her learn about the Imperial artifact. The Emperor asked the Duke to take care of the prince and princess. Dechar agreed, but Gella didn't understand what it meant to take care. It is natural that the Emperor would go to explore the ruins himself, and it is logical that he would leave the children in a safe place. But the ruler looked at the little girl and said that they would meet next time. He had done nothing wrong, but it felt like she had just been rejected. The children told Keishan that he was very stubborn, but the boy still did not allow them to approach his sister. Gella did not even notice. The main character didn't understand what was going on here. Elian told Keishan that Sharina would play with her, because he saw his sister every day. Gella didn't understand since when they were so close that this girl wanted to play with her. But Kayshan said no to her highness. Kayshan did nothing but cry the whole time. He looked like a wounded puppy. And Gel didn't believe that it could only be an act, because he was unusually brave today. Dalian told Keishan that he should not forget that he was talking to his older sister, so he should let her play with Sharina. Keishan said that Sharina doesn't even play with him every day. Sharina wanted to apologize to the boys because she considered it her fault. Sharina approached the princess and gave her her hand. She was shocked and asked. They took each other's hands. Dalian looked very confused. Gella didn't know whether to say that he looked a little too pathetic with his outstretched palm. But Sharina only has 2 hands, so she offered the boy to take hold of her shoulder. Dalian said that if his sister was happy, that was enough. Gella didn't understand why he was so angry. They were all so grown up, but still they made a circus out of some trifles. Gella would like to do her own thing. Sharina called her grandfather. Dashar listened to her attentively. The little girl asked if she could go to the garden. Gella decided that she would leave them in the garden, and at that time she would throw the damn doll into the water. True, it would have been nice if she had done it that time, when Sharant was very surprised that the orphanage had already been disposed of. The knight said that no trace. The man said he thought it was impossible, because they had immediately figured out her attempts to escape the Empire, so they chased after her. Sharant wondered why she died. The assumption was that she died, but one thing seemed strange to them. They were easy to track. It hadn't been an hour since they checked into a hotel, so they managed to catch up with them quickly. However, their bodies were already swollen and their lungs were filled with. However, there was no bathroom in that hotel, and their bodies seemed to be soaked in water. Recently, there was a similar case. Baroness Sullivan burned, but no traces were found. The Baroness died the same mysterious. Sharant asked the knight if he thought this was a similar case to the one with Baroness Sullivan. The man said that if you look at the door was locked and there was water only around the bodies and nowhere else. You could squeeze the water out of them. Sharant asked if they knew anything about who tried to buy. The knight reported that everything was unchanged and that they were looking for the account books for now, and he would try to get as much information as possible. Sharant let her go. The Duke knew that such matters were not resolved so quickly, but they had found nothing and it was beginning to irritate him. He thought about Sharon. This child is a real pain in the ass. Even Valian hasn't gotten into such serious situations. Sharant couldn't get a clear answer, and it happened by using black magic incorrectly. And this time, Sharente also has doubts about it. The little girl is much smarter than Kishan. Sometimes she doesn't act like a child at all. It's possible that she might have harbored a deep grudge against the head of the The only question is whether it was intentional or not. Sharant thought it was the last time, but he can't be sure. It was all very complicated. But even if that wasn't the case, he couldn't understand how the little girl had managed to comprehend black magic out of all possible ones in the first place. Whatever the case, Sharina is still not in the family book. She should have been left alone when she decided to leave home on her own, and it doesn't matter whether she is alive or dead. But Sharant himself can't understand why he went so far to find her. He thought that he should have stopped worrying about her. Like Valiant, because I didn't understand why I was trying to bring back those who think that there is no reason to try to bring back those who think that there is. Sharant decided that he shouldn't worry so much about this child, and that it would be better to take only a few already approved people to explore the room. Only the one who wears the crown can get inside. There are 2 ways. Either it means the king or the emperor, or the one who has one vague word is not enough to know for sure. Because of this, it was accepted in the Imperial palace that the emperor would personally. It was also decided from the temple side that the knight Simula and the priest would also go together. Sharant noted that it seemed that several wizards, including the current owner of the Mage Tower, this time the ruins are too close to the village, so we need to get rid of the monsters as soon as possible. Considering the conditions under which you can get inside the ruins, still, Sharant is afraid that something might happen while he is away. Sharina often does not behave like a child. She knows her. The girl does not even seem to hope for mercy from other people. She is wary of everyone, as if they were enemies. At the same time, however, the only one she sees as support and help is Vera. It turns out that the children don't have it easy either. However, Sharant Clown did not realize until the very end that the thoughts that Sharina had gotten rid of earlier had returned to her. Elian asked Sharina which of her dresses was the most beautiful. The princess was clearly. Impudent people always like to talk about their unseen beauty and intelligence, and that there are no such people in the whole wide world. This was exactly. Sharina pointed at one of the dresses with displeasure. Elian said that she also thought it was the most beautiful one, and she knew the little. Dalian said that he thinks that all dresses are the same and does not see any difference in them. And Keishan praised Sharina and said that she is amazing. And he also noted, but everything was not so, and Gel really wanted to tell the princess that she had deliberately moved the dress forward a little. But Sharina refused, because she had enough of the clowns alone, and she didn't really want to go to the palace and see this terrible emperor. He fought on the battlefield with his ancestors from an early age. The former emperor immediately noticed his leadership potential when he was still a prince and left the throne afterwards. Having won the war that had lasted since the time of the former emperor, he was able to quickly conquer the continent. When Gella saw him, he was not scary at all, and the way he spoke and behaved with others was very different from how she, as it immediately became clear that he was just trying to be kind, like an animal hiding its claws. The guy did not understand why the little Dalian asked if Sharina wanted to tell him that she had much more to do than he, His Highness the Prince. But Elian and Gella didn't understand why they left her with the kids. She actually wanted to go to the ruins excavation. The maid came. She informed His Highness, the Prince and Princess, that it was time for a little snack. Elian was very happy to see. Gella was angry because she was not offered any, but Vera came and said that she had pudding for her. The main character was very happy to see. Vera started feeding the baby. The pudding just melted in her mouth. This velvety, delicate... Dalian asked Gella how many classes she attended. Gella only felt a surge of energy thanks to her favorite pudding, and did not... The prince said that he simply had 10 classes a day, and he couldn't understand how Sharina could dare to say that she was more loaded than him. Sharina didn't even have one lesson. In any case, they were already finished. He looks about 8 years old. Sharina decided that there was nothing to be done, since he was from the Imperial family. Vera asked if the baby had eaten everything, but Sharina said that the main character had to go back to her room and go to excavate the ruins. A little more, and she seemed to be in paradise. Gella thought that if only she could learn the spell and cast it properly, she could cover great distances in just one go. Unlike the previous body of the main character, this one has not yet accepted dark magic. So in this case, it is much more convenient to attract magic. It looked a bit awkward, but the main character decided to try anyway. She failed, so she decided that she didn't even have to start with her terrible pronunciation. Space, which is limited, and time, which cannot be subdued, must open a hidden path for Sharina. The main character had to attract a huge amount of magic from outside to protect the magic stones. Kishan was looking for Sharina and was very surprised. Kishan jumped on his sister because he didn't want to, and the main character understood that everything was lost. They ended up in a clearing together. The little girl was in a lot of pain. She couldn't know and understand whether the boy understood what he had just done. Kishan told Sharina that he would protect her. He says it so confidently, although he hides his face on his sister's shoulder, even though he's scared to the point of shaking. But it's so cute and awkward at the same time that despite all this, to be honest, it wouldn't sound so good if he became Gella's enemy in the future. Kishan asked Sharina if she was okay. His silver eyes tremble slightly, but he doesn't think about crying at all. The girl told Kishan that Kishan asked where they were, but the little girl said she didn't know. In any case, they hadn't walked that far, so they'd have to... Gella didn't know for sure if Kishan would ever be against her, but she had to let him go. The little girl asked Kishan to give her his hand. The boy put down his sword and took his sister's hand. Gella knew that if things continued like this, she thought it would be much more difficult. Kishan asked Sharina what was in the distance. The little girl said it was ruins. The boy remarked that his dad was... The brother turned to Sharina and said that he had often heard about her having some special gift, but it turns out that it really is so. So he called Sharina phenomenal, and at the same... But Sharina said no. She didn't understand what kind of nonsense he was talking about. She couldn't even imagine missing Sharant. If that happened, it would definitely not happen in this life. There were quite a lot of people in the ruins. Knights of Simula with the priest, Imperial warriors, also soldiers of the clown. Kishan saw his father and started calling him. Sharina was horrified and did not understand what he was doing. Sharina pulled... The emperor said that they had wasted a lot of time trying to deal with the guard, and therefore invited everyone to quickly enter inside. One of the knights was thrown back by magic, and the emperor noticed that he seemed to be out of place. One by one, the knights approached the entrance. The emperor reported that 2 knights of Simula, 2 warriors from the Imperial palace, and 2 more from the temple, and Sharent said that if you count the emperor, then all 9. Gella, of course, assumed that would be the case, but the main character noticed the knight who was with Ranian. And he was here. Since, in addition to this, there was talk about people who could become conquerors. That's why there are so many leaders in this place. Also, the leader of the knights, Simula, is here. It's much harder to get into the ruins under such However, 9 people, this is already a research group. If you look at it like that, there is no one from Salofia here. Looking at their face, but it's not clear why. Gella decided that she shouldn't worry about it, much less be upset. In fact, it's one of the few reasons why exploring ruins isn't. The point is that the leader can't take all the people he wants with him, because those who are rejected by the ruins can never be inside. Gella is also curious about what's there. She doesn't have the ability to get inside the ruins right now, and it looks pretty dangerous. The main character thought about going for a walk, and she should take Cation with her. Charent said that he would go first. The Emperor allowed it. These two don't even think that the ruins won't accept them. Gel wanted to have the same confidence. Apparently, Cation stood up and called his dad. Sharina knew that everything was lost. Charenta was completely confused. Gella understands that he is only 7 years old, but he can't be that stupid. Nothing will happen to him if his dad is not around for a while. Sharina was already thinking about leaving, until she was found here. Keisha knows he will definitely be scolded, but he does not intend to reveal his sister. The main character didn't know what to do, and so she came out of the bushes. Charant, like no one else, knows that she uses magic, and since she ran, people started talking about the child because they knew they were from the clown family, but they didn't understand. Who was that next to Charant? They called the children hooligans and did not understand how they could have ended up there. People did not think that children could walk such a distance, especially on foot. Charente asked Sharina and Keishan which of them had been the instigator of the idea to hide in the wagon. Gella assumed that the nobles did not treat magicians very well, and if any of them found out that a child from the clown family used magic, it would damage their reputation. Sharina said Keishan admitted that they then noticed a cart and he offered to climb in. Gella noted that he made the bed well, but the children realized that they had simply hidden in the cart and noticed that their children also used to like to climb and hide in different places. Charent ordered Shudakal to take a few people and take the children back. The man accepted the order. Charent asked if Sharina. He was as unfriendly as ever, but something was wrong, because he used to act differently when he was. Honestly, Gella had only lived in the mansion for 2 years. She just wanted to take a quick look at the new ruins. Gella would have definitely returned home within an hour. Gella had a sea of possibilities, excuses for why she did this. Charent turned to the Emperor and offered to pass. The Emperor said that he had known Keishan for a long time and did not think that he was capable of such a thing. True. Seeing how desperate Charente was, he simply kept silent. Gella was very angry at Keishan. The air shook. It was only a small wave. It's pretty hard to notice unless you're a very sensitive wizard. Gella didn't understand what was happening. She was lifted into the air. Keishan grabbed Sharina's hand and they flew up together. Charente didn't understand what was happening. He was trying to grab Keishan. Gella didn't understand how it could have come to this. As soon as she found herself inside the ruins, the magic that had appeared out of nowhere suddenly disappeared. But Sharina is being pulled at such a high speed that she can't stop. At this rate, Gella will soon hit the wall. It's a bit of a strange feeling, like something soft but hard. The man asked if Sharina was okay. The girl understood that this was most likely the knight who married Ranian. The man asked if she remembered him. Of course, Gella wouldn't know the one who took Ranian, who occupies a. Keishan asked Sharina if she was okay. It was commendable that even now he was thinking about how to best protect. The knight put the children down on the ground. Charant ran up. The main character was scared because she didn't expect. He asked Keishan if he was hurt anywhere. Gella decided that he probably did it because of his son. Nothing out of the ordinary, it seemed. The entrance to them looks like the beginning of a long cave, and all because a deep space is formed underground. On each of the tiers, there lives a monster or a riddle in an ancient. In order to go down further, the research group must get rid of these monsters or solve the puzzle. It is impossible to leave the ruins until all research is completed. The conditions said that the king himself could get inside, so the ruins must be extremely unruly. In any case, Gella didn't think. Charente picked up Sharina and asked if she was okay. Gella didn't understand why he was so worried. It was somehow suspicious. The Emperor asked Charant Clown if he was okay. The Duke said that it looked like it. The main character noticed that Charant Clown was now more excited than ever, and she did not remember him ever being like this. Gella did not understand that he allowed himself. Moreover, once you find yourself in the ruins, it is impossible to get out of them. Charant probably knows about this too, but apparently due to strong excitement, Gella couldn't even remember the last time someone had been so worried about her. She didn't really want to go inside either, being in this child's form. Keishan tried to get out. Charente asked what it was. The son said he didn't know and noted that suddenly, something like wind had suddenly picked up Sharina. Gella was proud of his words because she wouldn't have to say anything in that case. That's right. This time, Sharina wasn't guilty of anything. Sharina didn't understand why Charente was looking at her like that. Presumably, he thought it was the baby's doing again. Sharina said she didn't know anything. It was unfair because Gella really wasn't to blame. Charente said that Sharina had to go and asked if she was going to stand there the whole time. At first glance, it might seem that he was so worried about Sharina. Gella would also like to leave, if there was such a possibility. Gella may have the body of a child, but she has the consciousness of an adult. But how Keishan managed to end up here was a mystery. The boy asked Sharina, it's not for nothing that he bears the surname Clown. He is empty and looks stupid, like a small child. But the knight asked permission to take care of Shirin. In any case, it was much better for Gella than relying on Charente, who was courting Keishan. The main character thought that Ranian was interested in her. And if you believe the rumors, he practically carries her in his arms, as if he is ready to give her everything he has. So he will also protect Gella.